Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump announcing a deal with Iran is in its final stages. What's behind his decision to cancel strikes scheduled for tonight? And what was hit in the U.S.'s bombardment last night? The Pentagon under a temporary lockdown after an air quality alert triggers a shelter-in-place order. What officials are saying about the hazmat response now underway. A key national security surveillance program is now facing expiration after the House fails to advance a short-term extension. Lawmakers are clashing over privacy concerns. Two Utah court clerks facing consequences for helping illegal immigrants evade ICE. Two women in Utah have been arrested and indicted on federal charges. Florida's congressional map will remain in place for now after the state Supreme Court declines to step into a legal challenge over alleged partisan gerrymandering. Why the underlying case is far from over. And the wait is over. The 2026 FIFA World Cup kicks off today. Host nation Mexico opening the tournament against South Africa as Team USA prepares for its first match in Los Angeles tomorrow.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. The Pentagon went into lockdown today due to an air quality issue. The department issued a shelter-in-place order for the affected area. Chief Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said the building's safety systems detected the issue. He said precautionary measures were put in place while officials determine its significance. Parnell added that standard protection protocols are being followed. He also said response teams are on site and ready to assist building occupants. Meanwhile, the Arlington County Fire Department is supporting the Pentagon's hazmat team. Officials described the situation as a hazardous material incident. And breaking news this hour, President Trump calling off strikes against Iran scheduled for tonight. He says a deal with Iran has been approved by all parties involved. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. Iris, good afternoon. What is the latest?
Good afternoon to you as well. President Trump just moments ago announcing that a deal with Iran should be near in sight, adding that he's calling off strikes scheduled for tonight against Iran. In a new Truth Social post, President Trump wrote, quote, based on the fact that discussions with the Islamic Republic of Iran have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and approved, I have, as President of the United States of America, canceled the scheduled strikes and bombings against Iran this evening. He asked the discussions and final points have been in both concept and great detail approved by all parties involved, including the U.S., Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt, and others. The president also saying that a naval blockade against Iran will remain in full force and effect until this transaction is finalized. Time and place of this signing to be announced shortly. Last night, President Trump telling Fox in an interview that from the Situation Room, he talked with top Iranian officials who asked him to stop bombing Iran in a new wave of U.S. strikes. He did warn them, though, that if they don't sign a deal by tomorrow night, which is now tonight, the U.S. will bomb them heavily, actually. As late as this morning, the president again reiterating his threat on Truth Social, saying that he will launch a very hard new wave of strikes against Iran tonight, and also that he might want to seize vital oil infrastructure, including Kark Island, where 90% of Iran's crude oil exports transits through before the war. Now, President Trump, of course, announcing this new breakthrough. This morning, him telling Fox News that Iran is in submission mode after heavy bombardment from the U.S. Watch.
We dropped $250 million worth of bombs on them last night. You know, the whole thing is crazy. And they're really in submission. They just don't know it yet. Okay, to be honest with you, they just don't know it yet. And we are talking to them and all. But, you know, look, my preference has always been take Kark Island. That's been...
The new breakthrough that was announced moments ago comes amid a new wave of back-and-forth strikes between the U.S. and Iran this week. On Wednesday, President Trump warning Iran that they will have to pay the price for still not agreeing to a peace deal and also for downing a U.S. military helicopter over the Strait of Hormuz this week. U.S. military launched a new round of strikes, including targeting Iranian radars, air defenses, and other military targets on Wednesday, and also potentially limiting and degrading Iran's ability. That's the aim of the strikes, to identify and attack commercial vessels. And that ability aimed for downgrading them. Meanwhile, before the strikes resumed this week, President Trump weeks ago did say at one point that a peace agreement has been largely negotiated and details would be announced shortly. The president has also been saying how Iran has agreed to the part of a deal about no nuclear weapon, though final details are still being worked out. And meanwhile, President Trump today again emphasizing that a U.S. naval blockade is still in place. And Central Command today pushing back on Iranian claim that the Strait of Hormuz was closed, emphasizing how the U.S. has allowed commercial vessels that are not trying to reach Iranian ports to transit through the key waterway and making sure that that international waterway remains open. Central Command also announcing new action and enforcement today by saying that the U.S. Central Command disabled a new oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman by firing 2 missiles. Central Command releasing that footage. In another development, President Trump, when asked by Fox News in an interview this morning about whether the U.S. would consider sending weapons to the Kurds for potentially uprising against Iran, the president saying that the U.S. has done so, but also noting the cruelty of the Iranian regime when it comes to cracking down on protesters, drawing a comparison with the Chinese Communist regime's crackdown and killing of student protesters back at Tiananmen Square. Let's take a look.
They shoot them, and the rallies dissipate very quickly, as frankly, I think is pretty normal.
Why won't they
very rarely can that happen, because there are not many countries. China was one that was able to do it in Tiananmen Square with the tanks. That tank operator, boom, rolled right over them when they went in front of the tank. There are very few people that can do that to their own people.
Meanwhile, breaking news just moments ago, President Trump announcing his actual DNI Director of National Intelligence pick on Truth Social, saying that he's pleased to announce the nomination of the highly respected Jay Clayton, former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, also the former head of Sullivan and Cromwell, one of the most prominent and successful law firms anywhere in the world, to be the next cabinet member to serve as the DNI director. And that's after Trump tapping Bill Pulte for the acting position, now coming just moments ago. So we do expect President Trump to talk more about that. He has a signing event this afternoon at around 3 p.m. Eastern. Remains to be seen, though, if he's going to open it up. Back to you.
All right, Iris, a lot happening. Thank you for the update. And joining us now to discuss the latest on Iran is Middle East historian Jacob Aladort. He's also the Chief Research Officer and Director of American Security at the America First Policy Institute. So, Jacob, good afternoon to you. So let me get your first reactions to this. President Trump announcing on Truth Social that the final points of a deal has been agreed upon by both, or rather all parties, and the final signing will be announced later in terms of time and place. What is your first reaction?
Well, I think this is a sign of the success of the military pressure, the economic pressure that we have placed and continue to place on the economic side. Look, the Iranian regime responds to desperation, to this type of action. And we're also seeing increasingly Iran, as the president alluded, is in survival mode. They're in this submission mode because they're looking to survive. And they need to make a choice right now. Do they continue their quest for nuclear ambition, or do they just seek to maintain hold, to exist, frankly? And certainly the scale of strikes that we would have taken, and time will tell, of course, between now and then, would have been certainly devastating and would have certainly sent them into that direction. And so obviously a lot still unknown, moving parts, but certainly Iran is in survival mode and is slowly coming to realize the importance of coming to the table to an agreement on the U.S.'s terms.
Why the quick 180? Because just a couple of days ago, Iran was still attacking U.S. helicopters. And now it appears, from what President Trump has said, Iran has agreed to certain terms. It seems like a 180 here.
Well, there's a lot we don't know, of course, in the negotiations and what's happening behind the scenes, so it's hard to speculate there. But the president's preference has always been for a diplomatic solution, if one is possible. Of course, not rushing into anything to make sure there's a deal on our terms, but of course, reserving the right to use military force as well. It's a highly fluid situation. There are many different, first of all, stakeholders, as you saw in the president's message, different aspects of this issue set beyond the deal itself. And so I think it rightfully has taken time and been a deliberate process. But this is a positive development, certainly, and we'll certainly see the continuation of the reporting on it.
So I'm wondering if this has anything to do with this, because President Trump yesterday announced something we didn't know before, and War Secretary Hegseth also revealing that the U.S. has been taking millions of barrels of oil from Iran, and that actually Project Freedom never stopped in terms of escorting ships to transit the Strait of Hormuz. And of course, Trump said yesterday that's why oil prices are around $80, $85 a barrel. So is this something that the U.S. is using potentially, and Iran is seeing this? Maybe they think they're losing a big point of leverage in this war.
Absolutely. This is it's hard to overstate the importance, the strategic importance of the blockade and the economic levers we've been using. That's exactly right. It's been millions of dollars of oil produced per day there because of the blockade. You know, it's also something that our adversaries around the world depend on. I mean, and other countries depend on. And so, of course, China relies on that for its energy needs through that waterway. And so it's very important. It's directly relevant here to making the negotiations proceed and the process in general proceed in the direction that it has. And of course, to moving the Iranian leadership's own intentions in the direction that it has.
I'm wondering if you think whether Iran sees its path forward being more and more narrow, because Trump in a Truth Social post today also said that in the not too distant future, the U.S. will be taking Karg Island and other oil infrastructure points. And he's saying that the U.S. will assume total control of Iran's oil and gas markets. So can you explain for us what is the significance of this statement?
Well, there are many, as part of the broader context, look, over the last 2 weeks in particular, you see Iran increasingly come to this realization that, as you said, its avenues for destruction, its very functions of terror are being diminished. Lebanon, for example, I mean, it rushed in to attack Israel there because it recognizes that any diminishment of Hezbollah has a direct effect on Iran's capability to coordinate terror around the world. And so that, of course, is still ongoing as well there. But so Iran is being oppressed from all angles, all sides, economic, military, as well as non-direct theaters in which its equities are at stake. And certainly Karg Island would have been a big step within that direction at further cutting off its economic lifelines.
So you bring up Hezbollah. I'm wondering if Iran sees this as a huge potential threat because, you know, Iran uses oil revenue to fund government operations, right? Military programs and regional proxy groups, that's including Hezbollah. So I'm wondering if Iran, if the regime loses the access to export revenue, does that mean its ability to finance all those abilities or activities that I mentioned earlier, could that be severely reduced?
It certainly will, and its ability, so beyond the capability of doing so, its actual ability to coordinate among the terror groups has already been diminished because of the president's actions in his first term with the strike on Soleimani, who for decades had been the architect of its regional and global terror network. And so Hezbollah steps into that fold. I mean, Hezbollah is Iran's oldest proxy. It is directly tied to the founding of the Iranian regime. There, probably its most important foreign policy achievement is the creation of Hezbollah in Lebanon. And so that, of course, has been part of the focus of the U.S.-led direct talks between the Lebanese and Israeli governments, the first time in decades the two governments had directly engaged. And so all of these changes on the ground in different parts of the Middle East directly impact the picture that Iran is seeing and the way that it's reading its own next steps and future.
Okay, so let's say if Iran agrees or signs these final points of a deal, what does the U.S. need to to enforce that Iran actually lives up to whatever it's agreed to and signed?
Well, and we'll see again what the details are when it comes out formally. Look, there will be probably a process of verification as well, a structure for doing so. On the other side of this, there will need to be partnership as well with our European allies and other allies around the world. There was a joint statement yesterday released about the common threats we all face from the Iranian regime with our European allies. That's an important part of this process as well. And their own narrative and thinking on Iran specifically has evolved in recent years. And so I think there's a lot of pieces at play, but certainly getting to this point is a big step and is a testament to the focus and the force that the United States has applied, the measured force to date in bringing out this outcome.
Okay, Jacob, well said. Let's leave it there for today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Don.
Secretary of State. Okay, let's take a break now. House Speaker Mike Johnson accusing Democrats of playing politics after the House rejects a FISA extension. Why he says the move could threaten national security. We'll be back soon after this.
Disasters are not a matter of if, but when. And they're happening in communities like ours more often.
Even before disaster strikes, hunger is already a crisis in America. But a disaster tests the very heart of who we are as a community. Food is scarce. But it's in these moments of crisis that our strength shines through. Because as neighbors, we lead the way forward. Please join with Feeding America, and let's be there for families in crisis. Call or go online to givetofeedingamerica.org. Just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Rushes food, water, and urgent supplies into communities just like yours.
They called us immediately and said, what can we do?
It's those partnerships that come together and respond to recovery.
Feeding America works with local food banks to get immediate relief to families as they recover. And we stay for as long as it takes. Because disasters don't wait. And neither do we.
They delivered a truckload of food to us to undergird what we had.
Every box of food, every bottle of water shows the power of neighbors being there for each other. When we work together, we are never alone. Call or donate online at givetofeedingamerica.org. Your gift will be so much more than a donation. It will be a filling meal for a child, comfort for a family in crisis.
We need to be there for our community for the next 40 years, just like we were for the last 40 years. And that's helping people build back in a way that is as strong as possible.
Please call or go online and give right now. With your monthly gift, we'll send you this exclusive canvas bag as a reminder of the hope you are delivering.
We're definitely here during the storm, and we're going to be here long after the storm.
But we need your support to continue being there for your community, for you, and for every family facing a crisis. Please call or go online to givetofeedingamerica.org and make your urgent gift today.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio and UFC CEO Dana White just signed an agreement at the State Department, a memorandum of understanding on sports diplomacy aimed at expanding mixed martial arts around the world. Let's take a look.
Encounters I've had where maybe we and our counterparties disagree about something, but I am so lucky that sports diplomacy, we are also lucky that it's part of our portfolio, because when discussion gets around to FIFA World Cup, or it gets around to the upcoming Olympics, or it gets around to beloved American sports like UFC, people light up. Sports are something we all agree on. Now, when you think about it, UFC is tailor-made for diplomacy, arguably more than any other sport. And why is that? Why do people like and respond to sports? Why do they paint their faces and cheer and form crowds and care so ardently who gets this ball across this goal line? It's because sports is a stand-in for combat. It is the most ancient and universal form of contention. And not only does UFC draw on that universal human tradition, it is tailor-made for diplomacy because it accommodates and embraces all different international fighting styles. Whether you're a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist or a Chinese kung fu master or an American boxer, UFC is a sport where you can fight and you can win. And UFC draws on some essential strands of the American character. In America, we cheer for somebody who can get knocked down and get back up again and win the match. Not only that, the octagon is the ultimate meritocracy. That's something Americans respond to, it's something our diplomatic partners around the world respond to, and it is a reason why. When I go abroad and I try to chat with normal people, they can tell I'm an American, but they can't necessarily tell that I'm an official American. People I meet at like hotel lobbies and places like that, and I ask them, what do you like about America? What American brands, what American figures, what American celebrities are known here? I cannot tell you how often UFC comes up. And so, frankly, the only mystery is why we didn't do this partnership sooner. But I think a real focus of this administration, a real productive and successful focus of this administration, has been expanding and doubling down on our sports diplomacy portfolio. We have a great MOU with the NFL, just like this one, and we couldn't be more thrilled to add UFC to our roster. So with that, it is now my honor to introduce UFC's Chief Operating Officer, Lawrence Epstein.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and we couldn't be more pleased to be partnering with the United States State Department to figure out ways to build bridges, to be diplomats through our sport. UFC is an incredibly global sport and an incredibly global organization. We're doing 43 events per year, and about 17 or 18 of those are in jurisdictions around the world. If you take a look at our roster of fighters, we have fighters from in excess, and this moves a little bit, but in excess of 75 countries. When you look at our roster of champions, they come from all over the world. And so we're perfectly suited and very excited to be part of this program because we truly are a global sport and a global brand. I could tell you a ton of stories about our travels around the world and how we've connected, exactly as the Undersecretary said, with so many different people from so many different cultures, from so many different geographies, bonded and connected because of the UFC, because of the sport of mixed martial arts. I agree 100% with your comments that it is, we are a global brand and a global sport, but we are American at heart, and our cultural values are American. And that grit, that get up after you've been knocked down, that refusal to ever lose. And the story of our business, too, how we started literally from one person who's standing over there, I'm about to introduce, to where we are today. It's an incredible entrepreneurial story also. So we're incredibly proud of what we've been able to build from sport, from a business standpoint. We are very honored to be part of this program and really look forward to helping the world get closer together. It's my pleasure to introduce our CEO, Dana White. And I could talk I'll tell you a lot of stories about Dana. But one thing I will say is this guy is an incredible diplomat. He might not be a professional diplomat like those in this room, but he is an incredible and accomplished diplomat. I've seen him with heads of state from around the world. I've seen him navigate difficult situations in China, Russia, all over the world this guy has been. And it's his personality, it's his ethos that sort of embodies the entire UFC organization. And so, Dana, the UFC, we're incredibly excited to be part of this program. With that, I want to hand it off to our chief diplomat. He's our CEO, but I consider him our chief diplomat, our Secretary of State, Dana White.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming today. I don't know how I could say it better than those two did, but obviously we come from very humble beginnings when we first bought this company 25 years ago. And we believed at that time that this thing would work everywhere and would work all over the world. I've always had this philosophy that, thank God, ended up being true. It doesn't matter what color you are, what country you come from, what language you speak, we're all human beings and fighting's in our DNA. We get it and we like it. I've laid in my hotel room in England many times trying to figure out cricket. Never gonna happen, but fighting in any language, as humans, we all get it. And what's been fascinating in our run over the last 25 years is how, when we go into these different countries, presidents of the countries or royal families from these different countries, everybody loves the fights. And more importantly, if somebody looks like you, talks like you, and comes from where you come from, and they're looked at as the best in the world when it comes to fighting, the entire country rallies around them, and it's a pretty powerful thing. So I want to thank Secretary Rubio for all of his support, and like Lawrence said, we are absolutely honored to be here and to be a part of this. Thank you, everybody.
It's my turn to speak, right? It's my turn? Well, listen, this is first of all, it'll be an exciting weekend, but an exciting opportunity to sign this. It's totally logical for us to do it. I want to make a couple points. People may ask, well, why UFC? We had this deal with the NFL too, but why UFC? So I have a couple reasons why that I think is very powerful. Here's the first. The first is America, and the ideal behind America is the impossible. That someone tells you can't do that, or that's never going to happen. The whole idea of America is audacious. The very idea that America, that you could have a country where founded on the principle that your rights come not from your government or from your leaders, your rights come from your creator, was an audacious idea. No one else believed that at the world at that time. And that's the foundation. But then beyond that, everything we've done since then as a nation, time and again. Now, how can you achieve some of the things, we're going to put a man on the moon? When President Kennedy announced that we were going to put a man on the moon and return him safely to the earth, no one thought that was possible, and we did it. We are a nation founded on doing what no one else dared to do and no one else aspired to do. And at some level, that's what this whole company, what UFC has been. You see, mixed martial arts is not new. It's been around now for about 30 years, I would say, maybe 35, but there were no rules, there was no structure. I remember the early fights, I used to watch them back in the day, and it was, you could get like a 170-pound Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy fighting a 250-pound heavyweight who was a striker. I was like, how do you put this? The rules weren't clarified. And Dana and the people around him had a vision, and that is to create a structure around this company, to give it rules, to define it by weight class, to structure the events, and it attracted some of the best athletes in the world. And what you've built now is this global company that not so long ago would have seemed impossible. Back in the day when boxing commissions, that's what they're called, or athletic commissions, were a little bit reluctant to give you permits to stage these fights or put on these events, or when no one knew what it was, you were able to plow through that. And today you have one of the most recognizable American sports brands on the planet. And in and of itself, I think reflects so much the American spirit is reflected in this American company. Here's the second point. It truly is the United Nations of fighting. If you think about the number of countries that are represented, and I think that roster will continue to grow, Lawrence, I really do. I think the number of people and champions you're going to get from around the world will continue to be added. And I can tell you this is true, and I can tell you about your global reach because the president, and I have another job and spend a lot of time at the White House, the number of foreign leaders that want to come to this is unbelievable. It's to the point where we may have a diplomatic crisis because it's like, we can't bring everybody. And so they follow, and some of them don't even have a fighter in the fight from their country. They just want to come because they are fans of the sport and they follow it. But to be honest with you, some of the countries that are represented in these fights, most Americans, because it's not their job to track this, have never heard of that country in their life. Have never heard about their country, have never heard about that person or where they came from until they saw a fighter from that nation step into the ring. And between that and the bios that sometimes come with the profiles leading up to the fight, it is also educating Americans about cultures, societies all over the world. The third is the power of convening. We have very few things left in our society, and I would say in the world, that convenes us all. We are so divided by so many different things. We get our news from different places. We follow different accounts online. We do everything separate from one another in this country, and I would say increasingly around the world. We are so polarized. There are only a handful of things that bring people together in one place at one time, united by their interest in one thing. We need more of those. We need more of those forums and those settings in which we can bring people together to enjoy something together and find something in common. And if you've been to UFC fights, and I've been to many, and you look into the crowd, I mean, the crowd is as diverse as you can imagine. And I'm not talking about ethnic background. I'm talking about economic background. I'm talking about social background. I'm talking about geographic. This is one of those few things we have left in our country, and I would say in the world, that brings so many people from so many different places, so many different backgrounds, and so many different points of view together for a few hours to enjoy one thing in common. And the bonding power of that is incredible. And it's something we want to share with the world, which is why making this sports diplomacy such an important agreement we're going to sign today. The last point I would make is it is my view, and I am very impressed by a man who's 6'9" or 6'10" that can run like a gazelle and dunk a basketball. Although if you're 6'10", I mean, the rim is only 10 feet tall, so you're halfway, or more than halfway there. But I think NBA players are incredible athletes. I always say that there are plenty of people in the NBA that could play in the NFL, and I love the NFL, but I don't think there are very many people in the NFL that could play in the NBA. But it is my personal view, that some of, if not the greatest fighters, some of the greatest athletes in the world are the men and women on your roster. Because it doesn't just involve endurance and strength, it involves physical courage, it involves the ability to fight through pain. In fact, was it in Miami a few weeks ago? We were watching one of the fights, and I don't want to call anybody out, but I think the guy, did he tear his ACL in the last fight? His knee was hurt. Like, he would not have made it to that second round. And he scored in the last 30 seconds a knockout. You think about the courage, like if I tear my ACL, like I'm done, right? Most people, like you tear your ACL or you blow out your knee. He blew out his knee, you're done. And this guy went another 2.5 minutes with a blown out knee and scored a last second knockout, because if he probably doesn't even make it out of the corner in the second round, because he's in danger with a lame leg like that. Think about the courage that takes. Think about how inspiring that is for the crowd to see something like that. It speaks to the human spirit, and you very rarely get to see that anymore in many of the sports. And there's not a criticism of any of those sports, but it's a testament to this one. And why we're so excited, not just about Sunday night, but we're excited about what this brand means about America's ability to expand and reach out to different parts of the world. You will see these cards, you're hosting them in 17 or 18 different jurisdictions. That's going to grow, in my opinion. And as you grow more countries that you go to and do this, but in the end, it will be an American company and an American brand that's bringing this sport, even though it may be their fighters, bringing this sport to those places. And that is the definition of American soft diplomatic power. And so we're excited to sign this today, and we're really excited about Sunday. We're never going to see anything like that again, guys, ever. I was there late last night. They were testing the pyrotechnics. I'm not going to give away anything other than to say they work. It was good. Secret Service wasn't as excited by the explosions, but everybody else. And what they built out there is phenomenal. We'll never see it again. Although the president's threatening to leave it permanently. You heard that, right? He's threatening to leave just don't know. Maybe, we'll just host weekly fights between people in politics, and settle our scores that way. But all kidding aside, Sunday is an unbelievable, historic, I think never to be repeated until next year experience for the American people to be able to see a sport. This is where I want to close. And I made this point earlier. We were doing a little interview about it. The White House is the people's house. It belongs to the people of the United States. The American 250 celebration belongs to the people of the United States. And there are millions and millions of Americans from all walks of life that are not necessarily attuned to politics or the financial markets or anything else, but they love the sport. And every Saturday, if you got a big event once a month, they're tuning in and they're watching and they host it. For them to be able to see this event with their White House in the background as part of our celebration as a country in our 250 years, I think is a gift to the American people. That's what Sunday is about. It's a gift to the American people. They're going to see their White House in their capital on their nation's birthday, celebrating with a historic event. We could have had a band, and we have great bands. We could have done a Shakespeare in the Park production. There are a lot of things we could have done with it, but this one will have people watching, probably over, 1 billion people all over the world. 1 billion people all over the world will be watching America celebrate its 250th birthday with the White House in the background and some of the best athletes in the world in that octagon. And we're happy to be a part of that, and we're happy to be a part of all the things we're going to be working on together in the years to come. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for covering it. Thank you guys for coming. The State Department, a lot of people here work at the State Department. We have members of the Diplomatic Corps. They get invited to a lot of meetings, but not many like this one. So this is great. Thank you. All right.
And you were just watching Secretary of State Marco Rubio and UFC CEO Dana White signing an agreement at the State Department. And this is a memorandum of understanding on sports diplomacy. And the CEO saying that of UFC, this fighting sport transcends countries, nationalities, and races. It's something that no matter what you speak, the language that you speak, it's something that you can understand. And the Secretary of State saying that this fight will be historic on Sunday, and it's a gift to the American people. All right, now taking a break, House Speaker Mike Johnson accusing Democrats of playing politics after the House rejects a FISA extension. Why he says the move could threaten national security. Stay tuned for more after this.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School, college first-round draft pick. On and off the field, we were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating, but I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day.
I love you.
Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
The House has failed to pass FISA reauthorization. The powerful warrantless surveillance tool is set to expire on midnight Friday.
On this vote, the yeas are 198, the nays 218. Two-thirds not being in the affirmative, the rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act gives intelligence agencies broad powers to tap into foreign communications without a warrant. The House bill would have extended the authorization for 3 weeks through July 2nd. House Republicans say FISA is a critical national security tool. House Democrat leadership opposes the reauthorization, saying Section 702 needs significant changes to protect the privacy of Americans. They also oppose President Trump's recent pick of housing official Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. The failed measure is the last vote in the House before it goes on recess. Congress won't be back until June 23rd. House Speaker Mike Johnson's reacting after the vote.
They see this as a political moment that they can somehow score political points. It is detestable, it is dangerous, it is going to jeopardize the safety and security of the American people. We all know what's going on around the country right now. We're hosting the World Cup, FIFA. We have big soccer matches all around the country, 11 cities around America. We have the America 250, Freedom 250 events going on here in the Capitol and all around the country. There are large sporting events, local communities. Those things are in jeopardy right now because the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is exactly what the name implies. It is how we monitor terrorists who are plotting and planning dangerous events in the country, in our homeland.
Republicans are eyeing another party line package. President Trump telling lawmakers to immediately advance and pass a third budget bill to supplement the Department of War and an election integrity bill. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the details.
Okay.
One day after President Trump signed a Republican-only bill to fund immigration enforcement agencies, he's calling on congressional Republicans to start on the next party line package. Writing on Truth Social, it is the only path to the full $1.5 trillion military budget our warriors need in order to build the arsenal of freedom. The goal is to give the Pentagon $350 billion for developing America's Golden Dome and manufacturing stealth fighters and stealth bombers. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said he's open to it, provided they have the votes. Some Republicans are already casting doubt.
Creates instability when you're counting on a third reconciliation bill for the bulk of the money.
It's safe to conclude there will not be another reconciliation bill.
Republicans holding a slim majority in the Senate can only afford to lose 2 votes to pass party line legislation. Despite Senator Susan Collins' hesitation, the president yesterday doubling down on support for her, describing her as sane.
She's had 10,000 votes. She had 10,000 votes. She never missed a vote. Unfortunately, because sometimes she voted against me. Look, she's a sane woman, and she's a respected person. Maybe a little different ideology than me.
He's also calling for lawmakers to include in the party line package the Save America Act to protect elections for generations to come. Senate Leader John Thune said this week that portion may have to wait until after Republicans gain more seats.
We all agree on, we're all for it, and we've all voted that way, but it's not something that we're going to be able to get done absent having an election and electing some more Republicans.
The Senate Rules Keeper said the Save America Act doesn't meet the requirements to pass through the special budget process. President Trump has called for Republicans to fire her, and some Republicans are looking for a workaround. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna proposed withholding funds from states that don't purge their voter rolls of ineligible voters. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The Florida Supreme Court has declined to intervene in a legal challenge to the state's newly enacted congressional map. In a 6-1 decision, the court ruled it does not currently have jurisdiction to review a lower court's refusal to expedite the case. The lawsuit was brought by several voting rights groups. It argues the 2026 redistricting plan violates Florida's Fair Districts Amendment, which prohibits partisan gerrymandering. The map was approved earlier this year after a special legislative session called on by Governor Ron DeSantis. The High Court's decision does not address the merits of the challenge, meaning the underlying lawsuit will continue in lower courts. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announcing the indictments of 3 Guatemalan nationals illegally living in the United States. Blanche says they took part in a wide-ranging conspiracy to smuggle more than a dozen children into the U.S.
When government fails to protect our borders,
it is the most vulnerable who suffer. And this department and this administration has zero tolerance for unlawful activity and is committed to protecting children who suffered the consequences of open borders.
In announcing the indictments, Blanche said more than 475,000 unaccompanied children entered the U.S. under the previous administration. The acting attorney general said over 300,000 minors could not be accounted for at the end of 2024. According to Blanche, criminals will commit fraud to traffic children across the southern border. Individuals will claim to be close relatives or use fake or stolen identities to sponsor unaccompanied minors. 2 court clerks facing charges for helping illegal immigrants evade ICE. The Justice Department says the 2 women in Utah have been arrested. Jennifer Joma and Lauren Kensley of Morrow worked at the Logan City Municipal Justice Court in Logan, Utah. Court documents say on that April 9th, ICE went to their courthouse to arrest an illegal immigrant. When Joma and Morrow learned about it, they misused the church or the court's databases to identify non-citizens in the courthouse and help them slip out a back door without being seen by ICE. After they succeeded, Morrow was seen making an obscure gesture at a camera security footage. The files say Joma also drove off 3 non-citizens in her car during a second trip. The 2 former court clerks now face charges of conspiracy, harboring illegal aliens, and obstruction of proceedings. Joma is also charged with transporting illegal aliens. They are appearing for the first time in court today. The man charged with assassinating the top Democrat in the Minnesota House and her husband was pleading guilty. His guilty plea comes after prosecutors agreed not to seek the death penalty. Vance Bolter was charged with murdering Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark Hortman, last summer. He was also charged with shooting State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette Hoffman. Bolter posed as a police officer when he arrived at both residences before opening fire. Prosecutors said the shootings were politically motivated. Bolter faces state charges as well. The State Department is sanctioning Cuba's state-owned energy company. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying the regime's elites have weaponized energy as a means of social control and profit. In a post on X, Rubio accused the Cuban government of hoarding fuel for decades. The Secretary of State said the regime instead uses it for Castro's private jet and state security forces that repress the Cuban people. Rubio said Cubans have endured blackouts and fuel shortages as a result. The Secretary of State posted, quote, "President Trump wants a new future for the Cuban people with greater economic and political freedom and opportunity." Rubio's comments comes as the United States continues to enforce an oil embargo against the communist-governed island. Now to the UK, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing renewed political pressure after the resignation of Defence Secretary John Healey. Healey says the government is not providing the British armed forces with the resources they need, and that planned defence upgrades have been repeatedly delayed amid internal disagreements. He warns that Britain must prepare for a potential confrontation with Russia at a time of rising global threats. The resignation comes just ahead of the government's expected announcement on defense funding ahead of a NATO summit next week, deepening instability within Starmer's leadership. Team USA is one day away from its World Cup debut. How players, fans, and host cities are preparing as the tournament officially gets underway. More news in just a moment after this quick break.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9, the highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Amazing grace, sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
President Trump is highlighting the completion of work at the restored reflecting pool on the National Mall. The president saying it involved a massive cleanup.
It was going to take 4 years to build, and we did it in like a month, month and a half. It was all garbage strewn. Some of the garbage was there for years. It was all disgusting, and it smelled. And anyway, we took 11 dumpsters of garbage out. It's with shovels. We had a shovel inside of what's called a pool or a lake, and got it cleaned. We then fumigated it. We then sandblasted the entire thing. We washed it, cleaned it, scrubbed it, sandblasted it. We used a dark blue. It's called American flag blue. I wanted to go light, but they said, sir, light doesn't reflect, and light shows leaves and garbage if garbage. One man says, sir, when you leave, it'll be strewn with garbage again, and you don't want that.
Small Business Administration Kelly Loeffler says the project was completed by Atlantic Industrial Coatings, a small business based in Virginia. Loeffler thanked the workers involved and saying the project helps prepare the nation's capital for America's 250th anniversary celebration. The Ultimate Fighting Championship is heading to the White House this weekend for UFC Freedom 250. The arena can accommodate around 4,000 guests for the televised event, which coincides with President Trump's 80th birthday. The ceremonial weigh-in takes place Saturday event, the White House hosting a media preview of the massive structure on the South Lawn today. In the main event, lightweight champion Ilia Topuria will defend his title against interim champion Justin Gaethje in a bid to overcome the undisputed lightweight champion. The wait is over. The 2026 FIFA World Cup, co-hosted by the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, officially kicks off today. Host nation Mexico is opening the tournament against South Africa, while Team USA prepares for its first match tomorrow. Here's more on what to expect.
The world's biggest sporting event is almost underway. The 2026 FIFA World Cup kicking off today with host nation Mexico opening the tournament against South Africa at the historic Estadio Azteca. Mexico enters the match as the favorite, with the team's head coach saying nothing compares to playing a World Cup on home soil.
I've never felt such excitement in 50 years of football as I have at a World Cup on home soil.
Meanwhile, Team USA is preparing for its tournament opener against Paraguay tomorrow. The U.S. enters the tournament as the highest-ranked team in Group D. Players say they understand the opportunity that comes with hosting the tournament at home.
As U.S. soccer players, we always feel that responsibility every time we step on the field to grow the game.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to attend the U.S. opener and lead the American delegation in Los Angeles. U.S. players say familiarity with Paraguay could help in the opening match.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. We played them back in November, so we know each other well. We had a good game against them. I think we're trying to replicate that. We're trying to bring the confidence from the fans, from the country, and I think we're excited. We're ready.
After their match against Paraguay, Team USA will face Australia next week and close out the group stage against Turkey on the 25th. Across the country, host cities are preparing for millions of visitors and fans. Los Angeles is opening a FIFA fan festival at the Memorial Coliseum, featuring live entertainment, food, and giant viewing screens.
The Fan Festival is a great opportunity not just for visitors to be part of the World Cup, but for our Angelinos to participate. This is a 4-day event, a very affordable, family-friendly event. $10 for tickets for adults. Kids under 12 are free.
Washington, D.C. is also launching a World Cup fan zone on the National Mall with free public viewing throughout the tournament. The initiative by Freedom 250 comes as part of America's 250th anniversary celebration this year. In Miami, officials expect the city's fan festival to become a gathering place for hundreds of thousands of supporters.
So fans, they may be coming for the football, but they are staying for everything that makes Miami special. Our culture, our energy, our hospitality.
Atlanta, meanwhile, will host 8 matches, including a semifinal.
We are ready because we planned. We are ready because thousands of professionals across Atlanta and the region locked arms and spent years working to prepare for this moment.
Law enforcement agencies say security operations are already in place.
We're going to be executing our FIFA plan of action, making sure everyone that's visiting any of the events will see a police officer, making sure that if you're happy, that we're going to make sure we manage that. If you're disappointed over the team's loss, we're going to manage that. We're going to guard against terrorism and all that may be present in the downtown space and other places of the city.
With 48 teams, 3 countries, and 16 host cities, and billions expected to watch worldwide, this is the largest World Cup in the tournament's history.
The Pentagon is declared safe following a lockdown. Operations are back to normal at the Department of War. More news after this.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
Getting prescription glasses from Select Specs is easier than you might think. Select your frames from our £6 range in-house brands or our extensive designer collections. Then enter, upload or email your latest prescription and our website will analyze it and help you select the best lenses and options to suit you. Click to place the order and your new Select Specs glasses are delivered right to your door. Ordering your prescription glasses is as easy as 1, 2, C with Select Specs and selectspecs.com.
This summer, your living room gets an upgrade. Come check out the summer edit at Mathis Home, where we're showing the hottest styles and the best deals. Our selection of sectionals has never been better, and we've got something designed to fit your lifestyle and your space. You'll have room for everyone. You can even customize with modular designs to get the perfect layout just for you. They're all in stock with fast, free delivery. We can't wait to show you what's in store. Give your living room a refresh and shop the summer edit at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump announcing a peace deal with Iran is in its final stages. Why the president's calling off all tonight's planned strikes and when to expect a signed deal. President Trump signs a roughly $70 billion immigration enforcement package that funds ICE and Border Patrol through the remainder of his term. Republicans framing this as a win for a secure border. A major shakeup in Los Angeles' homelessness response. The Trump administration is suspending federal funding to the region's lead homeless services agency as investigators examine allegations of fraud and financial mismanagement. The Pentagon is declared safe following a brief lockdown. Normal operations have resumed at the Department of War. First Lady Melania Trump today launching a new program aimed at helping foster youth build savings and financial independence as they enter adulthood. A referee from Somalia is making headlines after being denied entry into the U.S. What Homeland Security says about the reports and about the real reason why the individual was denied entry.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. President Trump calling off all scheduled bombings against Iran as he says all parties involved have agreed on the details of a deal. We now go live to NTD's White House correspondent Mari Otsu at the North Lawn. Mari, good afternoon.
Hey, Don, good afternoon to you. That's right. President Trump is now announcing that a peace deal with Iran is in its final stages, saying that the time and place of that signing will be announced shortly. The president also saying that all parties involved, and that includes the U.S., Israel, and many Gulf allies, have approved the final deal and discussions. And because of this, President Trump is calling off all scheduled strikes and bombings on Iran that were planned for this evening. But the president's also saying that until this transaction is finalized, that U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports that's been in effect for about a month now will remain in full effect. Now, here he is describing the effects of last night's bombings this morning. Take a look.
We dropped $250 million worth of bombs on them last night. You know, the whole thing is crazy. But and they're really in submission. They just don't know it yet. Okay, to be honest with you, they just don't know it yet. And we are talking to them and all. But you know, look, my preference has always been take Cargill, and that's been.
Now, the cancellation of tonight's strikes and bombings is coming after 2 days of the U.S. launching self-defensive strikes against Iran that were first prompted by Iran downing a U.S. Army Apache helicopter that was patrolling the Strait of Hormuz. And meanwhile, President Trump is now urgently calling on Republicans in Congress to pass a $350 billion reconciliation bill that he's calling Recon 3.0 to build and strengthen America's military with new investments in major weapons, ships, planes, and defense systems. But importantly, Don, President Trump says that he wants this reconciliation bill to include the Save America Act in it, which would require photo ID and proof of citizenship to vote. It would also limit mail-in ballots, ban men from competing in women's sports, and prohibit transgender surgeries on minors. President Trump is pushing for this to happen immediately, describing it as a generational investment to secure the nation's defense and protect elections for the future. Here he is commenting on the issue of election integrity in California elections as the vote count there continues to drag on over a week out from election night. Take a look.
We did great in 2020. That was a rigged election. And you saw it in California. Spencer Pratt, he did really pretty damn well. And they threw him out. And it was happening to Steve Hilton. And I went on such a tear that they approved it immediately. They approved him so fast because everybody was watching. And he was leading,
Right.
and it was leading by a lot, and you saw his lead was dissipating rapidly. They were taking it away from him just like they took it away from the kid. And I went on a tear. And by the way, we have the U.S. attorneys looking at it. And the 2 weeks said all of a sudden, we have a surprise. Steve Hilton won. And he did win. But they were going to take it away shortly.
And meanwhile, President Trump just moments ago is announcing that he's nominating Jay Clayton, that's the current U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York and the former SEC chairman, to be the next director of national intelligence and to serve in his cabinet, replacing Tulsi Gabbard. Back to you.
Okay, Mari, thank you. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announcing the indictments of 3 Guatemalan nationals illegally living in the United States. Blanche says they took part in a wide-ranging conspiracy to smuggle more than a dozen children into the U.S.
When government fails to protect our borders, it is the most vulnerable who suffer. And this department and this administration has zero tolerance for unlawful activity and is committed to protecting children who suffered the consequences of open borders.
In announcing the indictments, Blanche said more than 475,000 unaccompanied children entered the U.S. under the previous administration. The acting attorney general said over 300,000 minors could not be accounted for at the end of 2024. According to Blanche, criminals will commit fraud to traffic children across the southern border. Individuals will claim to be close relatives or use fake or stolen identity to sponsor unaccompanied minors. 2 court clerks facing charges for helping illegal immigrants evade ICE. The Justice Department says the 2 women in Utah have been arrested. Jennifer Joma and Lauren Kelsley Morrow worked at the Logan City Municipal Justice Court in Logan, Utah. Court documents say on April 9th, ICE went to their courthouse to arrest an illegal immigrant. When Joma and Morrow learned about it, they misused court databases to identify non-citizens in the courthouse and helped them slip out a back door without being seen by ICE. The files say Joma also drove off 3 non-citizens in their car during a second trip. The 2 former court clerks now face charges of conspiracy, harboring illegal aliens, and obstruction of proceedings. Joma is also charged with transporting illegal aliens. They're appearing for the first time in court today. Meanwhile, President Trump has signed a roughly $70 billion immigration enforcement package that funds ICE and Border Patrol through the remainder of Trump's term. Meanwhile, Border Czar Tom Homan saying New York should expect more ICE agents than before and increased federal immigration operations in the state. Joining us now to discuss is John Torres, President of Security and Technology Consulting for Guidepost Solutions. He's also a former acting director for ICE and served as the special agent in charge for Homeland Security investigations in Washington, D.C. So, John, good afternoon to you. Thank you for being here. Now, Republicans are seeing the Secure America Act as a win for securing the border, for enforcing, for law enforcement to enforce the law, to target criminals. What is your reaction to this funding package through the remainder of Trump's term?
Well, I think it's a good thing for border enforcement, immigration enforcement, and also overall law enforcement, especially in areas like New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, which are considered sanctuary cities. So they don't cooperate with ICE agents to enforce the law, and they don't have to, because enforcing immigration law is inherently a federal government responsibility. Yet if they're not cooperating with ICE at the local level, that means ICE needs to have more agents in those areas to do the work, which costs more money to the federal taxpayer, because ICE has to send more people and surge them into those areas to enforce the law. And then on top of that, you have to send teams to also protect those agents which are enforcing the law. And so passing this bill will allow ICE to enforce the law by themselves, ultimately, if they have to. And as well, they need to do more hiring, more training, and provide the tools necessary so that they can enforce those laws.
So since you bring up sanctuary city policies, can I get your stance on that? There's a lot of conversation on both sides about this. Do they shield criminals and lead to riskier street operations for law enforcement?
Well, they certainly don't make it easier, Don. In some cities, like what you just showed earlier at the top here with the 2 clerks in Utah, that is in fact shielding, that is harboring, that is transporting people that are here illegally in furtherance of protecting them from being arrested by ICE. So those are felonies; those are federal crimes. To the fact, if in other cities where they just say they're not going to cooperate, that's not against the law. That is their prerogative. Yet I will say, when they don't cooperate with ICE, when they have a person who's been convicted of a crime and he served his time there locally and he's in custody, they could hold that person for ICE so that ICE can send one agent, maybe two agents, to pick him up in the confinement of a county jail, for example, which is a lot safer than ICE having to send a team into the community where you're in that person's surroundings. You don't know whether or not they have weapons. You don't know how they're going to react. So it's inherently more dangerous, not only for the agents or for the person they're trying to arrest, but for the community as a whole. Because quite frankly, it's easy to say, well, this person really hasn't been convicted of a serious crime, but you don't know how they're going to react. And someone who's about to be sent back to their home country where they don't want to go, sometimes they can react very violently.
And John, I think you would agree with this, that the Trump administration has directly tied immigration enforcement to national security. So I just want to get your reaction to this. This is unprecedented, with DHS being partially shut down for about 115 days. So this is just incredible. Let me get your reaction on this. I mean, could something have happened during this time where vulnerabilities could have been exploited by bad actors?
Well, when DHS was shut down, for the most part, the agents themselves were still working, except they were working without a paycheck. However, those that weren't working are the support staff, those that could do the intelligence work, the targeting, the putting together of the files with addresses and locations and the most recent leads, so they could hand those to the agents to do the work. And so really there is a vulnerability there because DHS and ICE were not operating at 100%. The support staff was not working. And so what you see here is it is a vulnerability, it is a loophole, and it is directly tied to national security because there are many people that are being arrested that are on a watch list, they're on a terrorist watch list, or in the past, from my day when I worked immigration enforcement and national security, we focused on those foreign nationals that were accused of being in a terrorist group like Al-Qaeda and supporting Al-Qaeda. And so it was, quite frankly, we used every tool that we had in our playbook, including if they were violating an immigration law, to disrupt those potential terrorist operations that were going to take place, or just to stymie the organization itself from operating at full strength.
Okay, so talking about these criminals, sometimes illegally in the U.S. So in the first year of President Trump in office for his second term, deportations of illegal immigrants reached 675,000. So what is your opinion on this? Do you think deportations can also act as a deterrent as well to future illegal immigration?
Yeah, absolutely, Don. In my day, we were setting records under President Bush, George W. Bush, at about 400,000 a year, which continued under the first term under President Obama. But when those deportations decreased and the border became more open, there was no deterrence. And you saw as many as 2 million people crossing the border illegally under President Biden. And so as soon as you start enforcing the law, people don't want to be arrested and detained. They'd rather not take that chance and be stuck, because on top of that, when you get deported, you then are barred from re-entry into the United States legally for at least 5 years, unless you get special permission from the Secretary of Homeland Security or the Attorney General. And so, yeah, it's a huge deterrence. I've always said that illegal immigration is like water. It's going to find the path of least resistance. And as soon as you start putting up resistance and deterrence, then it slows down and you see the arrests drop and the border crossings drop, which overall is a good thing when you're talking about people dying in the desert when they're being smuggled across the border during the dead heat of summer, or being smuggled in the back of an 18-wheeler, or that you have criminals and or terrorists trying to be smuggled in with those same groups.
Yeah, it's also a deterrence for actually saving people's lives, because it'll stop them from making this dangerous journey. So, John, I just have one more thing I want your comment on. So, Speaker Mike Johnson called the Secure America Act good news for everybody except Washington Democrats. And I think you may remember during the State of the Union speech a few months ago, Trump said the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. What was going through your mind when you didn't see Democrats stand up for that statement?
Very disappointed. Not that I haven't seen that before, Don. I've said this every election season. When I was leading the agency and agents in many cities that I was in charge of during my career, I said, we're getting ready to enter the silly season where you're going to hear some crazy political rhetoric. Just keep your head down, don't engage, and do your job. Follow the Constitution and follow your training. And so when I see those types of words coming out of their mouth or reactions or saying that they don't want to support enforcing the laws that Congress passed, they themselves passed those laws where they have the ability to change those laws. But we have not seen significant immigration reform since the late 90s. And the last Comprehensive Immigration Reform and Control Act that was passed was in 1986. You can see it's a very volatile subject, it's very political. And sadly, people lose their lives. It's not safe in cities when you're allowing criminals to walk out of a jail who are recidivists and they're going to commit another crime, and it's going to actually have a seriously negative impact on the community because someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to get robbed, raped, or murdered. And that's not to say that all people that are here illegally do that, but when you're letting out hundreds, if not thousands of people right back into the community because you say you don't want to cooperate with ICE, that puts the community in great harm.
Okay, great comments, John. Thank you for your time today.
My pleasure, Don. Thanks.
All right, we're taking a quick break now, but we'll be back with more news, so don't go away.
What if kids in America didn't have to go to bed hungry tonight? What if our moms, dads, and grandparents could put healthy food on the table every day to help us grow strong? What if all of our friends and neighbors had fresh food too, and there was no hunger at all in America? And what if there was a way today for you to help? Call now or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. So many of us don't have enough food to eat, but your monthly gift means families across the country and in your community can fill plates with food. Kids can get healthy meals year-round, even when school's out, and our neighbors can have fresh food. Food that moms, dads, entire families need to thrive. But right now, more people are facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. It takes all of us to make that happen. Will you help too? Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give just $19 a month, and we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag. It's our way of saying thank you for helping to end hunger for our neighbors. Because no kid, no mom or dad, nobody should go hungry in America. Nobody. So what if today was the day you could help nourish futures for our friends, our families, for all of us? Ending hunger is possible. What if we end it together? Call or give online today at helpfeedingamerica.org and your gift can be doubled. Thank you.
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
Is deep sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
The Pentagon is back to normal operations after a lockdown earlier this morning. The Department of War says there was no hazard detected. Earlier this morning, Pentagon safety systems detected an air quality issue. The department issued a shelter-in-place order for the affected area and executed standard protection protocols. Response teams were on site to assist building occupants. The Pentagon has since announced, quote, subsequent testing confirmed no hazard exists and normal operations have resumed. The department is thanking first responders for their swift actions. The House fails to pass FISA reauthorization. The powerful warrantless surveillance tool is set to expire on midnight Friday.
On this vote, the yeas are 198, the nays 218. Two-thirds not being in the affirmative, the rules are not suspended and the bill is not passed.
Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act gives intelligence agencies broad powers to tap into foreign communications without a warrant. The House bill would have extended the authorization for 3 weeks through July 2nd. House Republicans say FISA is a critical national security tool. House Democrats oppose the reauthorization, saying Section 702 needs significant changes to protect the privacy of Americans. They also oppose President Trump's recent pick of housing official Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. The failed measure is the last vote in the House before it goes on recess. Congress won't be back until June 23rd. House Speaker Mike Johnson reacting after the vote.
They see this as a political moment that they can somehow score political points. It is detestable. It is dangerous. It is going to jeopardize the safety and security of the American people. We all know what's going on around the country right now. We're hosting the World Cup, FIFA. We have big soccer matches all around the country, 11 cities around America. We have the America 250, Freedom 250 events going on here in the Capitol and all around the country. There are large sporting events, local communities. Those things are in jeopardy right now because the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is exactly what the name implies. It is how we monitor terrorists who are plotting and planning dangerous events in the country, in our homeland.
And Republicans are eyeing another party line package. President Trump telling lawmakers to immediately advance and pass a third budget bill to supplement the Department of War and an election integrity bill. NTD's Melina Weiskup has the details.
Okay.
One day after President Trump signed a Republican-only bill to fund immigration enforcement agencies, he's calling on congressional Republicans to start on the next party line package. Writing on Truth Social, it is the only path to the full $1.5 trillion military budget our warriors need in order to build the arsenal of freedom. The goal is to give the Pentagon $350 billion for developing America's Golden Dome and manufacturing stealth fighters and stealth bombers. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said he's open to it, provided they have the votes. Some Republicans are already casting doubt.
Creates instability when you're counting on a third reconciliation bill for the bulk of the money.
It's safe to conclude there will not be another reconciliation bill.
Republicans holding a slim majority in the Senate can only afford to lose 2 votes to pass party line legislation. Despite Senator Susan Collins' hesitation, the president yesterday doubling down on support for her, describing her as sane.
She's had 10,000 votes. She had 10,000 votes. She never missed a vote. Unfortunately, because sometimes she voted against me. Look, she's a sane woman, and she's a respected person. Maybe a little different ideology than me.
He's also calling for lawmakers to include in the party line package the Save America Act to protect elections for generations to come. Senate Leader John Thune said this week that portion may have to wait until after Republicans gain more seats.
We all agree on, we're all for it, and we've all voted that way, but it's not something that we're going to be able to get done absent having an election and electing some more Republicans.
The Senate Rules Keeper said the Save America Act doesn't meet the requirements to pass through the special budget process. President Trump has called for Republicans to fire her, and some Republicans are looking for a workaround. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna proposed withholding funds from states that don't purge their voter rolls of ineligible voters. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
The Florida Supreme Court has declined to intervene in a legal challenge to the state's newly enacted congressional map. In a 6-1 decision, the court ruled it does not currently have jurisdiction to review a lower court's refusal to expedite the case. The lawsuit was brought by several voting rights groups. It argues the 2026 redistricting plan violates Florida's Fair Districts Amendment, which prohibits partisan gerrymandering. The map was approved earlier this year after a special legislative session called by Governor Ron DeSantis. The High Court's decision does not address the merits of the challenge, meaning the underlying lawsuit will continue in lower courts. The FBI makes the first arrest tied to the Justice Department's new most wanted fraudsters list. Said Abdullahi Ereg of Minnesota is now in custody, accused of stealing millions from a pandemic child nutrition program.
Ereg is the first fraudster on that list to be taken into custody. The FBI and our partners who stand with me today will continue to leverage all resources to track down, arrest, and prosecute fraud actors at every level and anywhere. The allegations against these most wanted fraudsters outline a gross disregard for the hardworking American taxpayer, and hijacking millions from federal benefit programs intended to provide essential services to those who need it is an outrage.
The FBI says Ereg surrendered after being publicly identified as a fugitive last week. The DOJ says he fraudulently obtained more than $4 million by falsely claiming to serve meals to children during the COVID pandemic. The case is tied to the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, one of the largest pandemic-related fraud investigations in the country. Federal officials say Ereg had been living overseas before returning to the United States and surrendering at the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. A coordinated international operation has led to the arrest of 2 senior members of a money laundering service named Audi A6. The 2 men, one Ukrainian national and one Russian national, will be extradited to Pennsylvania in the United States. The arrests took place in the country Georgia. The criminal case alleges Audi A6 are responsible for laundering more than $389 million in cryptocurrency. The organization also manages the Dark-to-Web Cybercrime Forum, which it uses to advertise its money laundering service. The coordinated operation was the result of investigations by multiple international agencies and law enforcement partners. First Lady Melania Trump today launching a new savings plan for foster youth. The new initiative will help them to achieve greater independence as they enter adulthood. NTD's Arlene Richards reports.
First Lady Melania Trump unveiling her Fostering the Future accounts on Thursday. It's a new program designed to help young people in foster care build savings and achieve great financial independence.
When they turn 18, foster youth will be able to access the assets they own through Fostering the Future accounts. This will give them a foundation for independence and opportunity. For Fostering the Future youth, empowerment comes through ownership.
Officials say eligible foster youth will receive investment accounts seeded with $1,000.
Because of the First Lady's leadership, we are embedding foster youth into the fabric of this program from the outset. When Trump accounts launch on July 4th, every eligible child in America will be able to participate, including those for whom the state serves as a legal guardian.
According to the Trump administration, 23 governors have already pledged to help establish the accounts through state agencies. The administration's goal is to convince all 50 states to participate and encourage every local welfare agency to invest. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
The Justice Department says the University of California Davis School of Medicine discriminated based on race in its admissions process following a 6-month federal investigation. The DOJ alleges the medical school used socioeconomic factors as proxies for race through a system known as the Davis Scale. It says admissions data from 2023 through 2025 showed Black and Hispanic applicants were admitted at higher rates than white and Asian applicants, despite lower average academic credentials. Federal officials say the practices violated the Supreme Court's 2023 ban on affirmative action and could lead to a lawsuit if a settlement is not reached. UC Davis disputes the findings, calling its admissions process merit-based and fully compliant with federal and state anti-discrimination laws. Microsoft is starting the second phase of a development at a 65-acre site for a new data center in Silicon Valley. Even though its power output would be half that of other facilities, it promises to use renewable energy and recycled water. NTD's David Lam reports.
I'm here in the San Francisco Bay Area in El Viso, where Microsoft and HIT is doing their groundbreaking ceremony for a new data center.
Microsoft is planning for a 48-megawatt facility working with HIT, one of the top 10 contractors in the U.S.
I would say that this is on the front edge of sustainability, particularly with the power infrastructure and the ability to add back to the grid during times of peak need.
This land is entering the second phase for Microsoft's data center. San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan says the city is taking measures to deter overconsumption from the data center.
As we've seen data centers built out in other parts of the country, we've heard horror stories of taking up the water supply, taking power and driving up rates is a concern. We have explicitly, very intentionally in San Jose, designed our policy, our regulatory environment, so that a new data center is additive.
Microsoft says this update marks the beginning of a multi-phase effort to prepare the land for future data center development, supporting the growing demand for cloud services and digital transformation. The project is expected to generate a significant impact in Silicon Valley, creating construction jobs and stirring growth in its tech ecosystem. The mayor also says the project would help expand the recycled water system in the area.
We've designed this so that it has to be a win-win for the community by definition, or we wouldn't allow the project. They're using 100% clean energy. They're providing power back up to the grid. So if there's the risk of a blackout, they can actually pause their operation and push energy out into the community.
The project is expected to be finished in 2027, about 18 months from now. In California, David Lam, NTD News.
And President Trump now is speaking to the press from the Oval Office as he signs an executive order. Let's listen in.
Countries that were mentioned in the release. I just spoke to Bibi. I spoke to the great heads of nations, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. And we're going to be talking to Turkey. President Erdogan is great. And it's really a wonderful thing with a lot of spirit. Pakistan was fantastic. The Prime Minister and I call him the general. He's a general. He's a great general. He's so great that he's actually a field marshal, a step above. And they're all very happy. The whole Middle East is happy. And long beyond the Middle East, the Strait will open as soon as we have it signed. We've been taking out many ships that nobody knew. Even the fake news didn't know it. But over the last month, we've been taking out ships, big ships, quietly at night. You guys didn't know that. Pretty cool, right? As a captain, he knows about more about ships than I do, but it's pretty cool. They turned off the lights. We bombed their radar and everything, so they couldn't see what was going on. And we took out some nights 25 ships, some nights 15. Last 4 or 5 nights we did 25, 22, 21, 26, 18, and 14. Who else would remember those numbers? Nobody. And but a lot of ships, a lot of oil is out. That's why oil, even before this, the market couldn't understand why it was so free. There was more oil than they thought. What they're trying to, we took them out at night. And that with the Strait will officially open as soon as we sign, which could be soon, very soon, maybe over the weekend. In Europe, I won't be able to be there, but JD will be there, Vice President, and some of the people. Steve Witkoff did a great job, Jared. So we'll take some questions, but right now we're here to talk about fishermen and fisherwomen. Okay, we have, they're great people. And I guess I'm a little prejudiced because they all voted for me. Would you say I got 100% or just
110%?
I think so. I think if I didn't, we'd have a surprise. We'd have a big surprise. So it's my honor to be taking this action to lower seafood costs and generate millions and millions of dollars in new business for our really great fishermen, great people, by restoring commercial access to 3 areas of the Western Pacific Ocean. It's a large amount of space we're talking about that they were restricted. Other countries would use it, but our country couldn't use it. You ever hear anything so stupid? I want to thank Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum, Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy, and Congresswoman Kimberly King Hines for joining us today. We appreciate it all very much. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to Captain Sig Hansen, a superstar. Him and Tom Cruise are the 2 biggest people in entertainment. Thank you very much. Great job. And Pacific Seafood CEO Frank Dulcich and his sons Dominic and Charles, and many more dedicated fishermen and seafood industry leaders. We have some great leaders here. And your product is amazing. It's been going along for a long time, right? Seafood. It's amazing and doing great. Under the Obama-Biden administration's radical environmentalists drastically restricted access for fishermen in coastal communities. Hundreds of thousands of square miles of ocean was cut off for them. They can't fish. Other people could fish. They couldn't. These people weren't allowed to fish. Can you imagine that? Did you ever think that was going to happen as you grew up? Probably as the sons and daughters of fishermen, right? That someday they were going to take away the right for you to go fishing in the Pacific Ocean. What a bunch of dopes. Those decisions close off vast resources and really the richest fishing grounds, they say, anywhere in the world, destroyed livelihoods and made the United States more dependent on foreign products. And I did a similar thing for Maine. Maine is very much in the subject because I have a pig running for the Senate. He's a pig. He's not a senator. He's a joke. He's a con man. But so it's in the, and you know, I won half of Maine. They have 2. I won the one by a lot. Fishermen, actually, come to think of it. Fishermen and the lumberjacks, the people that go out there and work. I won them. So I love Maine, but it's amazing. They had I think it was 500 mile by 500 mile, massive amount of the Atlantic Ocean. You weren't allowed to fish, but Canada was. Japan was. They all came in and fished, but our people weren't allowed to fish there. That was put in by Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? Barack Hussein Obama and Sleepy Joe Biden. And it's a shame. I mean, a shame. But I did it a little while ago and opened it up to them. Twice I've done it now, Peter, right? Sure. Peter Navarro, the great Peter Navarro. And I did it twice. I did it then, and then they had a rigged election, and I wasn't here. Totally rigged election, just like what was happening in California. You see what, they got the kid out, and then they were doing the same thing to Steve Hilton, and I started bringing it. They said, look, they said, it's going to take 2 more weeks. It was a week, and it was heading south. And I started saying it's a rigged election. And then they said it was going to take 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, he was approved. You know why? Because the heat was on. He couldn't get away with it. If I didn't do it, I guarantee he wouldn't be the nominee. It's a rigged election. Our country, and we have to get, by the way, the Save America Act has to get passed by the Senate. House has passed it 3 times. But with today's action, we're officially reopening nearly 500,000 square miles, wow, of water around northwestern Hawaiian Islands, northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. I mean, we'll ask you in a second, but why the hell did they close it? Why? Is there not enough fish, or what's going on? They closed it. Peter, do you have any reasons why they closed it?
Barack Hussein Obama, environmental activists, tried to shut it down. But you're right, sir, it's crazy. They let all
ruined the big industry.
The foreign boats come in. It's crazy. And they leave our captains out. It's crazy. It's bad for fish prices, too.
But we're making up for it, right?
Yes, sir.
And this will support millions of dollars in annual harvest of big eye tuna swordfish, reedfish, and many other types of fish. It will protect small local fisheries and coastal communities that depend on their livelihoods. I mean, they are very dependent on this. And it will increase domestic seafood production to help lower costs for American communities. And you're talking about millions, tens of millions of dollars of income. And we have so much. These areas, I mean, they just like say, oh, let's just close them. The amazing thing is that other countries, there's no restriction. You know, you can go and do whatever you want. It's just crazy. America's fishermen have never had a better ally in the White House than Donald Trump. That I will say. I shouldn't say that because I don't want to brag, but based on the vote of getting almost every vote ever. But you have never had. And again, in Maine, I opened it up. You know who was fishing there? Canada. Japan was fishing there. Maine lobster. You couldn't get a Maine lobster. You had to go to Japan to get a Maine lobster. You believe it? You had to go to Canada to get a Maine lobster. They were fishing there. Not only that, you had to go a day and a half in a boat, and they had you at 3 knots. That means like essentially a little bit different than 3 miles an hour, but it means slow. 3 knots until you got outside of this 500-mile area because they didn't want you to disturb the fish that you weren't allowed to fish for. No, but think of it. These people are crazy. And the new thing they had was you had to have an electric boat, even though they didn't work. And even though once you got out there, you had a problem because you couldn't get back because they didn't charge long enough. These are problems that were mentioned to them, and they said, we don't care. You have to have an electric boat. And the other problem was the battery is much heavier, as you know. Yeah. So the boat has a tendency to sink. And they were forced, you know, by 2030 or so, you were forced to have an electric boat. I don't think you were too happy with that, right?
Not at all.
Anyway, but this is going to support millions and millions of people. America's fishermen have just, they're special people. And it's fishermen and fisherwomen. So tell me, how do they define that? Because in most industries, like you have policemen, policewomen, do you call them fishermen and fisherwomen? I haven't heard of that one before. They put it. How are the women? Do they want to be designated as fisherwomen? Does anybody want to answer that question?
They'll take fishermen.
Yes,
they take a
fishermen, fisherwomen.
How about fisher people?
If you want to be politically correct, sometimes they use the term fisher, but
fisher.
I like fisherman or fisherwoman myself.
How about fisher people?
There we go.
These people are crazy.
So President Trump, I Googled that because I was at the same dilemma you did, trying to figure out to be politically correct.
And what is the answer?
So the Google answer said that most women attribute to fishermen because they feel like they're strong individuals and they can do the work of a man.
Well, be careful. That might be the end of your career. My administration's already rolled back burdensome regulations to increase gear flexibility. You know what that means, right? Do you know what that means? I heard they made you buy gear that you didn't want. Yeah. And that didn't work. Other than that, it was quite good. Expedite, I guarantee the guy made contributions to find whoever owns the company that made the bad gear. Expedite fishing start dates and significantly raise catch limits based on the best available science. You know about that? That's unbelievable. We expanded access to key fishing grounds in the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans, including vast areas off the coast of New England. I mentioned 500 miles. By 500 miles, that's a lot. That's a lot of fish. It's a lot of lobster that was being sold by Japan. I will tell you, foreign countries are very happy because they ended up taking over the Maine lobster business. Maine lobster business live from Japan, right? But we gave it back to them. These actions have unlocked billions of dollars in economic value and protected thousands and thousands of jobs from great people that voted for Trump. And they voted for me because of common sense, that's all it is. Because anybody can see this stuff is crazy. This is one industry, but other industries likewise. And right now we have $18 trillion being invested in our country. And under the last administration, it was less than one. And this is 18 trillion, by the way, in less than a year. It was 4 years less than one. Right, Howard?
That's correct.
By restoring fishing access to these waters in the Western Pacific, we're reclaiming our maritime heritage, empowering American fishermen, and putting American consumers first with lower prices. You're going to have more fish, lower prices. So now let's hear from first Secretary Lutnick and then Secretary Burgum, followed by Governor Dunleavy and Frank Duelstich and Captain Sig Hansen. And then we'll take some questions, and maybe you want to hear a little bit about some other subjects. But to me, it's really important. I'm going to sign this now so that we get it done. No auto pen? I don't want an auto pen. Can you believe 94% signed by an auto pen? Can you believe that? I think it's higher than 94%. The only one that was definitely signed by him that we know of, you know what it was? It was his son. It was son. His son, that was the only one. You could tell, you know why? Because his signature was horrible. She's a real beauty, that one. Okay. Do we want to do some questions?
Mr. President.
Who would like to speak? Yeah, go ahead.
So, this action, 500,000 square miles were closed to American fishermen. You couldn't go and fish. 500,000 square miles. I mean, just think of how big that is. And if you had an American flag, you weren't allowed there. But of course, everybody else went. So they went in our waters. These are our waters. Right? And so what did that result in? That resulted in us, instead of having seafood exports, because we have great fishing opportunity, we were an importer. We became an importer of seafood. How crazy is that? So the president is finally changing that. This is a massive win for our fishermen, massive win for our waterfront communities who process it, all these processors. And in the end, we are going to eat fish caught by us. What a shock! Eating fish caught by us in our waters. So this is just common sense, smart. We already have the best conservation rules in the world, and this was one on top of another on top of another. So thank God, from the fisherman's perspective, and I get these calls all the time, that President Donald Trump is in this office because he's finally letting our great fishermen and fisherwomen get out there and catch fish and stop importing fish. Let's eat fish caught by Americans.
Thank you. Thank you.
Echoing that, with President Trump's leadership, this is another promise made, promise kept by President Trump, that he was going to roll back these job-killing, community-killing, industry-killing jobs. He's done that last year with executive orders, doing it today with his proclamation. So I want to say thank you to President Trump. I want to say thank you to my great friend, Secretary Lutnick in Commerce. We have dual responsibilities across Commerce and Interior related to fish. And of course, with our partners in the Pacific, because American Samoa, Guam, the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas Islands, we've got the Congresswoman here from Northern Marianas Islands. These are all American citizens. As Howard said, this is U.S. territorial waters, and they were closed to us and open to others. And that makes no sense. We've reversed that around, and so again, as you see around us, the jobs that are created in this industry are often second, third, fourth, and fifth generation family businesses. And these folks not only risk their lives, they risk their own personal capital to help feed America. They're the farmers of the sea. Just like President Trump's behind our farmers and ranchers, he's behind our fishermen. He's making sure that America is great. This brings back healthy food for our schools, our military, all the things that we're working on with Secretary Kennedy and with Pete Hegseth. So this is a win-win-win across the board. Again, thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Howard. Great day for America.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, this is another example of America First, to be honest with you. Alaska provides 60% of the country's seafood. We're the state with halibut, salmon, king crab, you name it, comes from Alaska. Fishing in Alaska is one of the oldest industries in that entire state, employs thousands of individuals. Everyone has had fish from Alaska, we know that. But this is an example, again, of putting America first, workers first, and really this country first. And so on behalf of Alaska, on behalf of all fishermen and women, I want to thank you for what you're doing for this country and for the state of Alaska as well.
Governor, was this shutdown, I mean, it's just so hard to believe. So this was trauma for your industry, which is a big industry.
Well, your deregulation is what really helps Alaska. It helps the fishermen. The country doesn't need more regulation. We need less regulation. And that includes for this industry as well. And so from that perspective, and it's across the board. We could talk about oil and gas and so forth, but this is about fish. But your deregulation approach is really what we need. We don't need more cost, and as you said, we probably don't need electric boats either. We need the focus on getting seafood to Americans, putting people to work, and this is exactly what this does. So I just want to thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Good job.
Mr. President.
We got to hear from a couple fishermen.
Mr. President,
Please.
I'm third generation. These two are some of our kids, as well as fourth. Pacific Seafood immigrated, my grandfather immigrated into this country and started his first fish market in 1941. From there, we now are one of the largest family vertically integrated seafood companies in North America. It was an American dream, and I'm honored to have been.
Where are you from?
Portland, Oregon, and now Arizona.
Liberal.
It's not a liberal.
Trust me.
There's probably more people than you think as Republicans, conservatives.
If we could count the votes.
Yeah, if
That's
you
another
could count
issue.
the votes properly, yeah.
But where we are is the act, the proclamation today, and the executive order last year and prior to this is really going to help us. We have 3,000 families that work with us, and 715 fishing families, lower 48 in Oregon, Washington, California, and Alaska, that depend on what we catch, what we process, and what we grow and sell is the healthiest protein on the planet. And you're giving us access to these family wage jobs in these coastal communities where we're usually the #1 or #2 employer in those cities and counties and coastal communities we are in. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of that 3,000 employees and 715 fishermen. Thank you, Mr. President. Secretaries, thank you, and everybody that supports this industry.
So did you ever see this happening when they destroyed your whole life and your family and your business, everything else? Did you ever think that somebody would come along and save it?
I'm going to just be really clear. There's never been a president to do this.
Thank you. Very nice. It's very nice. Yeah.
I just want to say, Mr. President, that, my father always said, always give credit where credit is due. And I'm here representing the working man, the fisherman. I am one myself, as you know. And, I spent a couple of months with you on The Apprentice, and I saw your work ethic there. And I got to tell you, I understand that I can't fathom how you can do all this and how you can get the time to do what you do and representing us and helping the fishermen the way you have done. It's mind-boggling to me, because I know you got your hands full, but putting us on that pedestal and backing up our industry the way you have, it's just phenomenal. And I gotta say, I've been fishing since I was 12 years old. I've never been fired in my life until I spent a couple of months with this man. And, and it was very humbling, to say the least.
You did a great job.
And I tell you what, when I think about it, I was a better captain after that because I was very nice to my crew. I was very humbled when I was fired. And anyway, I just want to say, as for you, this is a crew member's cap. You can take that. And you're one of us now. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
We've done more for this nation in the fishing space. We're farmers of the sea. We produce this great healthy protein. I'm from North Carolina, but we support you 100%. You've done more for this nation in the seafood space than any president before you in my lifetime. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm Eric from Hawaii. United States fisheries are the best managed in the world, and this action is really about balancing, the interests in U.S. exclusive economic zone. You can have both ocean protection under our laws as well as sustainable fishing, and that's what this is about. And I think, Mr. President, you are the only president that has really stepped up in terms of supporting fishermen like you're doing. No other president we've seen, the administrations that's helping us. And there's a lot more work to do because there's a tremendous seafood deficit in trade. Imports are undercutting us left and right. But seafood is
No,
healthy.
they're taking it right out of your water.
Yeah, and seafood is a healthy
They're
food.
taking it from your water
Right.
and selling it in to the United States.
That's right.
The whole thing is just crazy.
So really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, please.
First of all, thank you, Mr. President, to you and your family for the sacrifice and the commitment to the country.
Thank you.
I'm in the sea scallop business. I don't know who likes sea scallops, but New Bedford, Massachusetts is a port that is recognized as the highest grossing revenue port in the United States. I don't know who knows where New Bedford is, but sea scallops, there's roughly 300 vessels, or 300 full-time vessels. They range from 85 feet to 100 feet. Sig's wife came from New Bedford. And you talked earlier about some examples of stupidity or whatever. We have vessels that can cost anywhere between $3 to $5 million, and those vessels only work for 35 days a year. They sit at the rest of the time at the dock. So we need certain things that could help us, and I know that this, because of your executive order, and it's a game changer. That order is a game changer for us. And one more example, there's an area that, you know, like Frank mentioned on the Pacific side, but there's an area off Georges Bank that's 248 square miles. 248 square miles.
Been restricted also.
Restricted.
Is
It's
it
the
now-
largest.
Is it now restricted?
It's restricted. It's been closed since 1995. And here we are, 29 years later, we can't even get in. It's the best scald ground in the United States.
Take a look at it.
Hey, sir, I spoke with the gentleman before, and we're going to fix this.
Take a look at it.
We'll bring
But-
this in.
It's all nonsense.
But how,
we do this.
you talked about stupidity. How crazy is that? We haven't been able to get in there for 30 years, and it's been environmentalists.
Do other people get in?
There's lobster guys in there, there's
From
some
other
codfish.
countries?
Yeah, they cut it, well, mostly the United States, but it's the best scald ground that we have in the United States.
How do
in that
they get
area.
in if it's restricted?
Well, they can get in, we can't. They won't allow scallop fishing in there.
Oh, I see.
So it's prohibited from us.
Crazy.
But there's, I mean, just think of a boat that we have that sits, and we've asked, we're working, and I just explained it to Secretary Lutnick about, we're right now pretty close to where we could easily take a permit and put another permit on it, but why should we let these boats sit at the dock for 330 days?
Yeah.
It's crazy, so
We'll look at that.
thank you so
Thank you.
much, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very
So,
much.
so I'm a federal advisor on the Sea Scout plan,
Right.
President Trump, and spent a lot of time helping advise the council how to manage that fishery. It's the best managed fishery in the world, bar none of any fishery we have. But it's ludicrous to allow those scallops. They live about 8 to 10 years, and we've already gone through 3 different cycles of those scallops maturing and dying that we're not harvesting. There's a way for us to do that, and your
you
director
think
of marine
it's a
fisheries-
positive as opposed to a negative?
It needs to be
And
open.
they die. They just die.
They're dying,
They just die.
and they've gone
Nobody-
through
die
3
of-
generations.
So a scallop will die of old age?
It'll die of old age. But it needs to be.
How do they
that's
taste
right.
when they're dead? And
Not very good. Not very good.
Not good?
Not good.
And you talked about the maha, I mean, it's one of the best, Frank said his fish, the scallops are one of the best proteins.
Yeah.
There you go.
They are.
It's a wrestle. Oh,
That's
we can come to
good.
UFC.
Thank you. Anybody else? You guys okay?
Another thing
Thanks,
too,
everybody.
the price of crab has tripled for us, so we're not getting that competition from other countries, which is from
Explain that, go ahead.
Russian product, for example. So tariffs, and our price just skyrocketed. And it sells, people buy it, it's all US.
Do you want to have product coming in from
So
us?
in other words, at the dock, we received triple the amount of what we've seen in the past. So the demand is there, and people buy it. So,
Okay.
President
yeah.
Trump, we have a fisherwoman that would like to.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Mr. President. My husband, Sterling, here.
How are you?
I'm doing well. He's an Alaska Bering Sea crab fisherman, and I'm a farmer's daughter from Iowa.
Good, good.
And I just
Good
wanted to-
combination.
It is, harvesters, we're both harvesters. I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership and representing not only fishing families, but the farmers too, to help make American agriculture, and not only that, but Alaskan seafood the best
Very
in the
good.
world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Great
much.
couple.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It's a good combination. I like that, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you, sir. This
this is a question that will directly impact the fishing industry. Fishermen cheered and support you in your fight to stop offshore wind turbines because experts say that they destroy the commercial fishing industry, not to mention they're a national security threat, as you've highlighted. Does your administration plan to continue to fight the judge's ruling that's allowing for the continuation of the turbines right by Jamaica States, right where you live, off of the Atlantic? 154 of them are going to litter the sea. Will you put a stop to that, Mr. President, now that Kathy Hochul broke her deal about the pipeline?
And she did break her deal. Doug, would you want to answer that question? Because I am for it. She broke her deal by stopping a pipeline. She wanted to stop a pipeline, which was so good for New England and so good for Connecticut. And she broke her deal. What do you want to do on that, Doug?
Well, I think I want to say, first of all, absolutely positively, the construction of these wind towers have an effect on fisheries. We've had multiple roundtables between NOAA, which is part of Commerce, and Interior, which manages all of the offshore leasing. So plenty of evidence that destroys fishery. Number two is marine mammals, which Howard has in NOAA. It's affected. We've had more whales wash up on shore during the construction of these offshore things. So it's not great for marine life, not great for fisheries. We also have the report from Secretary Pete Hegseth, which conclusively, this is a national security threat, and we should understand this was thrown out by the Democrats and said, no, it's not. It can't be a national security. They're just making it up. Other countries, including Sweden, have canceled offshore wind projects because of national security issues. And all you have to do is pay attention to the way the wars are being fought today. It's autonomous on autonomous, a lot of it low altitude. These wind towers that President Trump has worked to try to stop. The towers themselves can be 600 feet. The blades are 250 on top of that. You could launch an attack on the U.S. in the Northeast in our most populous area with a bunch of autonomous drones coming through a wind tower field, which cover thousands, if not tens of thousands of miles. That level of attack would be undetectable until it came through because of the radar interference. And then we know that there's autonomous undersea activity going on now. That's happening in the Gulf with advances in technology on all sides. The sonar, the vibration of running the wind towers affects the undersea sonar. So it's a huge national security threat, bad for marine mammals, bad for fish. President Trump is going to keep fighting for what's right for this country.
Could you stop the blades right now? They're coming over from Asia right now. They're sending the blades to start installing them. So it's sort of pending.
Yeah, well, and then on top of that, it's the most expensive electricity, it's weather dependent, it's intermittent, and it's foreign sourced, as you say.
Terrible,
So,
and they do affect fishing, and it's very bad, and everybody's against it. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, on Iran.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, on Iran, how confident are you that there will be a signing this weekend? Because you have come close to sealing a deal, but at the last minute it has fallen apart. And
It'll be soon, maybe this weekend.
And has the Supreme Leader approved this deal, sir?
I understand the answer is yes.
And when this deal is signed, is the United States going to immediately lift the blockade?
Yes, that's true. That's part of the deal.
And
you'll have oil prices dropping like a rock.
And sir, have you actually secured an agreement on the discussions about the nuclear material and the nuclear negotiations?
Yes, conceptually on that, and nobody's getting close to it because it's buried under a mountain, basically. There's B-2 bombers.
But has Iran committed to not pursuing a nuclear weapon, or will there be more negotiations on that down the line?
They will not have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that. There will be no, which is the whole reason, which is a big part of the reason.
Is that going to be in your agreement, sir?
They will not only not have, they will not purchase, develop in any way, any shape, in any way, shape, or form a nuclear weapon. They will not have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, just to follow up on that, you have said before that Iran and the United States were close to a deal. It has not happened yet. Why are you so convinced that this time is different?
Because they've taken a pounding. They've taken a pounding like very few people could take, and they want to make the deal a lot more than I do. And we could have had it done the other way, I guess, but it would have taken longer. They got hit very hard recently, as you know. And I don't like to have to do things that way, but I felt it was necessary. It's a great deal for the United States and for the Middle East, and I think ultimately great for Iran because they'll be able to build up their country and their country. I really believe it's a regime change because I find these people to be much more rational than the people that are no longer with us. We knocked out the first team of leadership, the second team of leadership. This is a different group, this is a different level, and I think it's frankly a smarter level, and it's a level that has reason And they've all approved the deal. Everybody's approved the deal. Now we'll get it finished up, and hopefully that'll be done. We will not have Iran having a nuclear weapon, which is very important to these people behind me. We can talk about fishing. There won't be anybody to fish. The fish will still be around. I guess they're probably going to be affected too. We're not going to let it happen. So Iran will essentially, most important paragraph to me, Iran will in no way, shape, or form have a nuclear weapon or purchase a nuclear weapon.
But is this just a concept of that agreement when it comes to nuclear? You said this was just a concept of that agreement. So is this just essentially setting the stage for deeper talks on nuclear?
It's a very strong memorandum of understanding. That is a little conceptual, but it's something that's going to get done. And if it doesn't get done for any reason, which I can't imagine that not happening, they want to sign it as much as I do or more. I would say they want to sign it more, maybe a lot more. But it's a very detailed memorandum of understanding, also agreed to by many other countries that have great influence over them, and everybody wants it done. So it's going to get done.
Mr. President, you suggested yesterday that Iran may be tapping along the U.S. Those were the words that you used. What makes you believe that they are sincere this time in wanting to pursue diplomacy?
It's the level of enthusiasm for getting it done. And we were hitting them very hard for the last 3 days. We're going to hit them even harder tonight. They knew that. We told them exactly what we were going to do. We explained it exactly because they had no Navy, they had no Air Force, they had any weapons of detection, they had nothing. And so we could tell them exactly what there wasn't a thing they could have done about it. And we won this war militarily very early on. The only thing we didn't win was the fake news was, no matter if they could have raised the white flag of surrender, and the fake news would say, oh, they did wonderfully. They didn't do wonderfully. But you know what? They've got a chance to build a country. Their country is largely demolished. Again, their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is gone. Everything's gone. Their leadership is gone many times over. Even many people from this leadership is gone. But we found them to be rational. And they're going to make a deal.
Mr. President.
And I'll tell you what, it's a great deal. You know why it's a great deal? Because they will never have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, is there a specific amount of time that has to pass between this memorandum of understanding and a final deal being done?
Well, we hope it's going to go relatively quickly, but it's...
Is there a 60 or 90 day
I mean, the straits are
deadline?
going to open immediately. It's upon signing. Maybe it'll be Saturday or Monday.
Or is there a deadline, though, to get from this to a final deal?
We think it's going to go pretty quickly. I don't want to say a deadline because if I say a deadline, you'll say, oh, he didn't meet the deadline. This is like, it's not going to matter much because it's going to get signed. And the strait is open. But the straits have been open for a number of months already, and you just didn't know about it. You as reporters weren't able to get it. I just announced yesterday that we brought a lot of ships through, and nobody knew about it. I guess we did a pretty good job, Peter, right? But we brought many, many ships across, and millions, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil were brought across.
Mr. President,
And there wasn't a thing that anybody could have done about that. Yeah.
is the Card Island operation off the table, and are you ruling out boots
Well,
on the ground
now
at
it
this
would
point?
be. If we signed this agreement, it would be. They weren't so thrilled when they heard that that's what I would have done. And I just don't think, I like it great. Look at Venezuela, how well that's worked out. We paid for that war many times over. And many, many times over. We have millions of barrels of oil from Venezuela going to Houston. And we're working great with the Venezuelan government. Couldn't be better. It's a real good relationship, really good relationship. Venezuela's been amazing. This is a larger situation, actually less oil. Venezuela has a lot of oil, but we think of it, we spend X dollars. We paid for it many, many times. When was the last time you heard that? Many times over we paid for it. You ever think you'd see that in this country, right? We go to wars, we end up with just blasting the hell out of people, and we come home, nothing happens. Venezuela was amazing, and this is amazing. Yeah.
Mr. President, are you considering using or drafting an executive order to extend FISA or to continue using Section
Well, the
702?
Congress wants me to do it, and let's see what happens there right now.
Republican leadership wants you to do it.
I put out a statement, sure. It's
Do you
very
think you have
important.
the
It's
executive-
very important for our military. Yeah.
Mr. President, on the Save America Act, you're now urging Republicans to add that to this third reconciliation bill.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on why election integrity matters so much for national security from your perspective?
Well, we
as the
need it
commander-in-chief?
for our elections. We need to have voter identification, which you don't have right now, on a national basis. We need it for, and the voter ID is very important. We need it for proof of citizenship. Do you believe it? The Democrats are fighting. They don't want you to prove your citizenship when you vote. You know why they want that? Because they cheat. And we also want it with mail-in voting, where you have people that are sent 7, 8 ballots, 2 ballots, 4 ballots, and a lot of them sign those ballots, mail-in voting, and we want to be very judicious if you're in the military and you're far away, or if you're handicapped, or if you're sick, or if you're on vacation, that you have but you're not going to, millions and millions, look at California, they send out millions of ballots, tens of millions, they have no idea what's going on. Those elections are so corrupt, so we have a mail-in ballot, then we have no men, and we had 2 more, no men in women's sports. We're talking about saving America, right? No men in women's sports, another one, very popular. I think it's 99-1. They say it's 80-20. I think it's 99-1. And we have no mutilization of your children for transgender purposes. So it's the transgender mutilization of your children. Does that sound good with you guys, generally speaking? You're not into transgender mutilization of
Not
your
at all,
child, right?
not at all, sir.
Where your child leaves your house and they take your child from you. In some cases, think of it, in 6 states, they take the child and do what they want to do. What they do is I don't even want to talk about it. We add that, no transgender mutilization of your children.
On DNI, Mr. President, do you intend to have Bill Pulte continue to serve as the acting director of national intelligence? And do you think it's unreasonable that some Republicans have concerns that he has no intelligence experience, even if he's serving in this acting role?
But he's intelligent, unlike a lot of other people.
But do you think that's a fair, no intelligence?
He's only there for a little while. He's running it for a short while when we get a very talented person, Jay Clayton, in, as you know. Jay Clayton's an incredible talent, head of Sullivan and Cromwell. He was head of the SEC. He was now Southern District. I mean, nobody has better credentials.
Do you
But
want Clayton to shrink
Bill will
the
run it for a
alliance,
short
sir?
while. He's done a fantastic job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Created tremendous, it's probably worth $1 trillion now, trillion. He's done a great job. He's a smart guy.
Today's another example of you bringing these everyday Americans into the White House and listening to them.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to listen to everyday Americans when
Very
it comes to
important.
policy making on a
These
daily
people
basis?
built the country, not the complainers. The complainers didn't build the country. These people built the country. Whether it's fishermen or farmers or anything else. Me, guys like me, they built the country. You know, I watch all these ingrates, they're always complaining. They didn't build anything. They couldn't build anything. Look at what's happened in Minnesota. Somalia. All these people came in from Somalia. They ripped off our system. You have the woman who married her brother. She came in and married her brother. Isn't that wonderful? And then she talks about the Constitution of the United States. She comes from Somalia. They don't have constitutions in Somalia. They don't have police. They don't have it. All they have is people that run around shooting each other. And then she comes and tells us how to run our country. I don't like it. These people don't like it. I can tell you. I think I can speak for you.
Yeah.
She comes in, Ilhan Omar. She comes in. She tells us how to run the United States of America. And she comes from a place without anything, probably among the worst countries in the world. And she says, the Constitution of the United States protects me. She shouldn't be protected. She honestly, she should be thrown out of the country. She's corrupt. And most of the people that came in are corrupt. And the whole voting system is corrupt in Minnesota. I won Minnesota 3 times, easily. I won almost every county. But they didn't give it to me. It's a corrupt system. very corrupt state. The governor is terrible. The attorney general is terrible. They're all very corrupt people. Yeah.
Sir, on your defense supplemental, do you think there's enough support from Republicans in
I
Congress
hope
to
so.
pass it?
I mean, any Republican that voted against it would be.
McConnell and Collins say they don't think
Well,
it's gonna
McConnell's an angry man. He, got thrown out of his position. He's an angry guy. He should be very thankful to me, because if I didn't win, he wouldn't have gotten to appoint. I appointed the judges. He didn't. He gets credit for appointing judges. He didn't appoint anybody. I did. You know how I did? I won the election. And then I picked judges. And the judges ended up getting approved. And they said, oh, didn't he do a good job? He didn't do a good job. What the hell did he do? I won the election. He's an angry man who's very disloyal to John Thune. John Thune's a good man. He was a loyal worker for Mitch McConnell. He worked for Mitch McConnell. He worked very hard. He was very loyal to him. I disagreed with him a lot because Mitch McConnell gave so much money to Democrats. He gave them money. I had to go get the wall money from the military. I just took it out of the military because that guy wouldn't do anything. He gave it. No, Mitch McConnell's a bad guy, and he's I thought he was lousy at his job, But when they give him the only thing they give him a lot of credit for judges, but I'm the one that got the judges. You know why? I won the election. If I didn't win the election, he wouldn't have had any judges. So. Yeah, I mean,
Mr. President,
say it again.
when will you send the supplemental to?
They're going to send a supplemental, but you have him, you have Murkowski. I've done so much for Murkowski. You have the governor right here. Governor, have I done a lot for Alaska? Has there anybody done more for Alaska than me?
You've been the best president for Alaska in our history, Mr. President. I've said that many times.
And Murkowski's terrible to us, terrible to the country.
Mr. President.
And, I almost feel guilty. I do more, probably done more for Alaska than any other state. Not because of her, because it's the right thing to do. She's just an impediment. But she's there. She probably will be a negative vote. You have a couple of other. I think Rand Paul's come a long way. Let's see what happens. I think Rand Paul likes Save America, because Rand Paul's usually a negative vote. But I think he likes Save America, so that's good. I like Rand Paul, but, I hope he votes for us. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. The president of the Kentucky Farm Bureau testified before the Senate about a month ago, middle of May. At that point, he said that the pricing and availability of fertilizer was a crisis for farmers. Yeah. And he said the war was not helping that. And he said we need the government to step in and provide economic health. Even if you do make a deal in the next couple of days, that was a month ago that farmers were saying they were in crisis. Do you think there needs to be federal aid specifically for farmers because of the war?
No, it's fair. I gave the farmers $28 billion in my first term because they were taken advantage of by China. And I charged China for it. I put tariffs on, and China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars. And I took $28 billion out of the tariffs from China and other countries that treated our farmers very badly. I gave them $28 billion. And I'm looking at that, actually. The war is the primary impediment, which is now going to come down from Ukraine. A lot of it comes out of Ukraine and other things, but other places. But no, the farmers have a problem with fertilizer, but that's all coming down now. And your fuel is going to be, I think it's going to be lower than it was 4 or 5 months ago. 4 or 5 months ago, we were doing unbelievable. Remember this, if you look at Biden, his oil prices, without saving our country, saving the world, by going out and saying to Iran, you cannot have a nuclear weapon. If I ask these people about Iran having a nuclear weapon and they're going to have to go through some pain, I mean, I don't think, I hate to really do it because it's a little dangerous. Every one of these people are going to say you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon because they'd use it. You want to see turmoil? You want to see death and destruction? Let Iran have a nuclear weapon. So, but I am looking at doing a form of help because of fertilizer. But fertilizer is going to come way down as soon as this is over.
And then a political question, if I can. Next week, there's a big runoff race in Georgia for U.S. Senate. Yeah. You notably endorsed a candidate for governor there. You haven't endorsed for U.S. Senate between the two Republicans. Why not?
I may do that, but every time I endorse, they win. It's been a pretty amazing track record. I was 18-0 this last week.
Do you regret endorsing Randy Feenstra, sir?
What?
Do you regret endorsing Randy Feenstra in Iowa?
The man running against him was all Trump. And the only one out of hundreds of races, hundreds, I'm glad she brought it up, she's got to bring it up. There's a gentleman in Georgia that I endorsed who was much less Trump than the other man that won, as you know. And had I been given the proper information, which I don't think I was, I probably would have endorsed the other person. or not endorsed at all, but I would have endorsed the other person. The other person was much more Trump, as you know, than Randy.
Mr. Mr. President, here in Washington, D.C., there's a Democratic primary for mayor. One of the two leading candidates, Janice Lewis George, is running a Zoran Mandami campaign. It's focused on socialist policies. How would you feel if she emerges victorious in next Tuesday's
Well, I wouldn't
primary?
like it, and maybe we'd take back Washington, run it on the federal basis. We won't put up with it. We're not going to lose our businesses. By the way, Washington now is a safe, beautiful place. We had 22 fountains dug that are all working. Not one of them worked for years, for 25 years, 40 years, 58 years. The pool didn't work from it was 1928 it was built. It always leaked because it was done in stone. Now it's done properly. It's not going to leak at all. But this is a beautiful place now. People are coming. Restaurants are thriving. The restaurants are all closed. Nobody wanted. Now you can't get restaurant space. You can't get into it. We have a thriving community. We got rid of the crime. We're 92% down on crime. Think of it. And we're going to be close to 100% pretty soon. You always have some whack job someplace, but we're going to be close to 100%. So Washington is thriving. Memphis is, the people came in from Memphis, 74% reduction in crime. New Orleans, think of that, 78% reduction in crime. They had the safest Mardi Gras that they've ever had. You know why? Because we sent in people that take care of crime. Chicago should do it. New York should do it. Los Angeles should do it. We'll make it a safe place.
And that was President Trump at the White House signing an executive order to improve the fishing industry. President Trump announced major policy changes. So the administration is reopening nearly 500,000 square miles of ocean around the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. And on top of that, President Trump said the previous administration, particularly Barack Obama, Joe Biden, imposed environmental restrictions that closed large fishing areas to fishermen. And President Trump also saying that this is going to lower seafood costs for consumers and generate millions and millions of dollars in new business activity. And then taking reporter questions, saying that it's different this time with Iran. A reporter was asking what makes him think that anything will be different. And President Trump said it's because Iran took a pounding from the United States, and they're in a state where they really want to make a deal. Okay, moving on. The Justice Department announcing the indictment of 3 Guatemalan nationals for their alleged roles in an international alien smuggling conspiracy involving unaccompanied children who entered the U.S. illegally. Charges include submitting fraudulent sponsorship applications and conspiracy to induce foreigners, including children, to enter the country. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
We found 146,000 kids so far. We still have nearly 300,000 missing.
The Department of Justice is charging 3 individuals with smuggling conspiracy and fraud involving unaccompanied children who entered the U.S. illegally.
All 3 are illegal aliens from Guatemala who allegedly took part in a wide-ranging conspiracy to smuggle more than a dozen children into the United States by scamming the system and exploiting the loopholes created by the last administration.
Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche says this indictment is one example of the many ongoing cases involving what he calls super sponsors.
There are over 15,500 super sponsor cases. These super sponsor cases are when somebody sponsors more than 3 children, unrelated.
The DOJ also announcing the sentencing of an individual convicted of smuggling a 14-year-old girl into the country.
By submitting false paperwork and lying on the forms, claiming to be her brother, proceeded to sexually assault this young woman. These 2 cases help explain how what was going on is really the stuff of nightmares.
Blanche says the DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, and Department of Health and Human Services are working together to go after individuals who have illegally brought children into the country. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
A coordinated international operation has led to the arrest of 2 senior members of a money laundering service named Audi H6. The 2 men, 1 Ukrainian national and 1 Russian national, will be extradited to Pennsylvania in the United States. The arrests took place in the country Georgia. The criminal case alleges Audi A6 are responsible for laundering more than $389 million in cryptocurrency. The organization also manages the dark-to-web cybercrime forum, which it uses to advertise its money laundering service. The coordinated operation was the result of investigations by multiple international agencies and law enforcement partners. First Lady Melania Trump today launching a new savings plan for foster youth. The new initiative will help them to generate and achieve greater independence as they enter adulthood. NTD's Arlene Richards reports.
First Lady Melania Trump unveiling her Fostering the Future accounts on Thursday. It's a new program designed to help young people in foster care build savings and achieve great financial independence.
When they turn 18, foster youth will be able to access the assets they own through Fostering the Future accounts. This will give them a foundation for independence and opportunity. For Fostering the Future youth, empowerment comes through ownership.
Officials say eligible foster youth will receive investment accounts seeded with $1,000.
Because of the First Lady's leadership, we are embedding foster youth into the fabric of this program from the outset. When Trump accounts launch on July 4th, every eligible child in America will be able to participate, including those for whom the state serves as a legal guardian.
According to the Trump administration, 23 governors have already pledged to help establish the accounts through state agencies. The administration's goal is to convince all 50 states to participate and encourage every local welfare agency to invest. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development is pulling millions in federal funding from a Los Angeles homelessness agency. The move comes as investigators examine potential mismanagement and fraud. According to HUD, in 2023, the Los Angeles Homeless Service Authority was unable to determine whether it used funding to pay for empty hotel rooms. HUD said a 2025 assessment revealed the agency failed to provide documentation verifying the existence of nearly 2,300 housing sites under its authority. The U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California pointed to a specific case in Westwood. In that instance, the executive director of a charity called Abundant Blessings is accused of fraudulently obtaining $23 million in funding for homelessness. Instead, the director allegedly fabricated invoices, lied about vendor payments, and established a fake board while failing to offer adequate food or services. Two shocking incidents and two lucky escapes. Arkansas State Police released new video this week showing a baby thrown from a car during a police chase in Wachita County. On May 24th, a Toyota Highlander refused to stop for a traffic violation. What followed was a lengthy pursuit in which the vehicle reached speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. What troopers didn't know is that there were 4 children inside. The vehicle lost control, hit a light pole, and turned over. A 4-month-old infant was thrown from the vehicle. An officer runs to grab the infant, who survived with only minor injuries. Officers then collected the remaining 3 children, one by one, all under the age of 6. In a separate incident on June 3rd, in Gwinnett County, Georgia, police released dash camera footage showing a child land on the hood of a police cruiser after being ejected from a truck that collided with another vehicle. Body camera footage shows the officer collect the children and take them to safety. The child sustained only minor injuries. None of the children in these crashes were properly restrained using seatbelts. The NYPD had their hands full Wednesday night during and after a historic Knicks comeback win. NTD Sean Marshall has more on the story.
Police in New York made multiple arrests Wednesday night as Knicks fans packed the streets of Manhattan after their team pulled off the greatest comeback in finals history. The area here is usually filled up with people, but canceled watch parties and a security perimeter forced fans to spill out into the surrounding streets of Midtown Manhattan during the game. What did you think of the game last night?
I'm actually from Texas, so I am a Spurs fan, but I was very shocked. I was very shocked. I thought we were really going to win. I was like, we really have a chance. I couldn't even finish the game. It stressed me out.
And what did you think?
I'm happy they won because we're in New York, so I'm a Knicks fan now.
come back, win. It's built for the city, tough times, playoffs, baby. Knicks in 5. But maybe they save it till everyone's back home in 6, but all heart. You gotta love the all heart.
Did you just buy that shirt out here?
Yes, sir. You gotta support the community. You see someone hustling, selling shirts, you gotta support them. Lean in.
Well, Brunson's game-high 36 points led the way. It was Anunoby's 33 points on 7 for 9 shooting from 3 that really did the heavy lifting for the Knicks, securing the historic victory for New York, who are now just a game away from their first title since 1973. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Homeland Security today explaining why a Somali World Cup referee was denied into the U.S. That's as New York City is warning residents of extreme heat and thunderstorms ahead of the first games at MetLife Stadium. NTD's Arian Pazdar has the World Cup roundup.
We're not going to allow people that have criminal or maybe perceived to have criminal ties to come into this country. I don't care what your situation is.
Homeland Security Secretary Marquin Mullin on Thursday explaining why certain World Cup attendees are being denied entry into the U.S. A referee from Somalia is making headlines this week after being denied entry.
The left media wants to go out there and report and say this guy's a victim of because we're, anti-Somalia. No, we're not. We work closely with FIFA and the administration on a regular basis. We talk to the FIFA and their directors constantly. Anybody that was denied, we made the case for and showed them why they were denied.
Some of the staff from the Iranian national team were denied as well. Meanwhile, the Iranian players have to stay in Mexico and can only enter the U.S. on game day and then leave again. Meanwhile, in Somalia, the referee, Omar Abdul Qadir Artan, received a warm welcome after returning home from the U.S. He arrived at the stadium in the capital city of Mogadishu, where supporters carrying the Somali flag cheered him on. Artan would have been the first Somali to referee a men's World Cup game. And in New York City.
And beginning this Saturday, June 13th, New York, New Jersey Stadium will host 8 matches just across the Hudson River, culminating in the most watched sporting event on the planet, the World Cup final.
One day after the New York Knicks completed the largest comeback in the history of the NBA Finals, city officials are now warning of the possible dangers for the next major event.
A combination of high temperatures and humidity means the heat index may hit 100 degrees today and tomorrow. Severe thunderstorms may also bring in strong winds and heavy downpours. These conditions are extremely dangerous.
The city is now activating free public cooling centers for people to beat the heat. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
Chinese spies posing as recruiters and Chinese companies fueling Iran's weapons programs. How the U.S. is cracking down on threats. After the break, we'll tell you more about this.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
In the mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love, your mind.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. What'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. Good. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
you see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
The FBI warns Chinese agents are using fake job offers to target Americans with access to sensitive information. At the same time, the U.S. just sanctioned several Chinese companies for helping Iran acquire weapons. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us. Jack, first off, can you tell us more about these Chinese-run websites targeting Americans?
Yeah, so the FBI seized 13 websites just yesterday, saying that they were set up by Chinese Communist Party agents who were posing as employers with lucrative job offers. They would reach out to the targets on major platforms like LinkedIn, and these Chinese agents, authorities say, were specifically targeting current and former U.S. government employees and military personnel with knowledge of classified information. Now, according to investigators, applicants were offered money in exchange for sensitive information. And the FBI says that this isn't over, saying to be on the lookout for more Chinese agents online posing as fake employers. Take a look.
Current and former U.S. government employees should be aware that China's intelligence services may be targeting you using deceptive online job offers. Their goal? Obtaining sensitive U.S. government information. The reality is, if a job sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Now, as for those websites that have been seized, they've been replaced with government seizure notices. So if you go online right now, you'll see that those websites are completely shut down, and there's a number there saying to contact the FBI with any information on this. Don.
And Jack, on another front, China is arming Iran's military. What is the latest on the U.S. action to crack down on this?
Right. So the Treasury Department just sanctioned 11 people and entities accused of helping Iran obtain weapons and military equipment. Now, 9 of those targeted are based in China and Hong Kong, which, as we know, with their draconian security law and their handpicked government, is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Now, officials say that the companies helped facilitate Iran's military and Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to obtain weapons, those same weapons that are firing at U.S. military personnel right now. Now, the sanctions freeze any U.S.-based assets and prohibits Americans from doing business with the sanctioned individuals and companies. Don, back to you.
All right, Jack, thank you. The State Department is sanctioning Cuba's state-owned energy company. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying the regime's elites have weaponized energy as a means of social control and profit. In a post on X, Rubio accused the Cuban government of hoarding fuel for decades. The Secretary of State said the regime instead uses it for the Castro's private jet and state security forces that repress the Cuban people. Rubio said Cubans have endured blackouts and fuel shortages as a result. The Secretary of State posted, quote, President Trump wants a new future for the Cuban people with greater economic and political freedom and opportunity. Rubio's comments comes as the United States continues to enforce an oil embargo against the communist-governed island. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers pressing Trump administration officials on oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, Chinese purchases of American agricultural assets, and the return of the New World screwworm. NTD's Chris Bob has details on yesterday's hearing.
We are not talking overly about it, but this is using the U.S. military to increase flows of oil out of the Strait of Hormuz, and things are going well.
Energy Secretary Chris Wright defending the administration's assessment that oil traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is increasing.
We have data that shows that there's been a significant increase in the number of ships going through the Strait of Hormuz that would supply the rest of the world with oil.
That's correct.
Wright rejecting publicly available shipping data cited by the congressman. On oil reserves, Wright said the administration has avoided selling off crude from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, instead using exchanges.
We've not sold a single barrel. We've traded those barrels, and we will get well over 200 million barrels of oil back. So we'll end out with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve more full than we started this conflict, while still mitigating the price impacts of this conflict and the flow and mitigating the interruption in the flow of oil.
At the Senate Agriculture Committee, lawmakers turned to concerns about China's role in America's agricultural economy.
The president is very focused on protecting farmers as part of our national security plan, obviously understanding the Chinese purchase of our chemicals, our seed, our farmland, all of the above is very concerning. And I've talked to him about that. He agrees with that.
Senator Tommy Tuberville also raised concerns about China's involvement in the timber industry.
China can come in and buy our lumber, our trees, and cut our trees, put them on ships, ship them back, mill them, make cabinets out of them, the same that we make here, ship them back, and they undercut our prices. And we need to tariff the hell out of China.
The hearing also focused on the return of the New World screwworm, a livestock pest that had previously been eradicated in the United States. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins blaming its resurgence on the policies of the previous administration.
The Biden administration's open border policies, combined with the Mexican cartel's refusal to crack down on that through South and Central America, allowed the screwworm to move north for the first time in 50 years. $1.3 billion since we walked into the door last January 2025 has been invested and deployed to battle just the New World screwworm.
Rollins says USDA has expanded surveillance, increased staffing, and accelerated sterile fly production as officials work to stop the pest spread. Chris Bobb, NTD News.
Now to the UK, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing renewed political pressure after the resignation of Defence Secretary John Healey. Healey says the government is not providing the British Armed Forces with the resources they need, and that planned defence upgrades have been repeatedly delayed amid internal disagreements. He warns that Britain must prepare for a potential confrontation with Russia at a time of rising global threats. The resignation comes just ahead of the government's expected announcement on defence funding ahead of a NATO summit next week, deepening instability within Starmer's leadership. The Justice Department is appealing after a federal judge blocked the Trump administration from imposing a $100,000 fee for H-1B visas. The judge's ruling earlier this week the authority to impose such a fee lies with Congress. And H-1B allows employers to hire foreign workers with specialized skills. The visas are valid for 3 years and can be extended for 3 years. The number of new H-1Bs issued each year is capped at 65,000, plus an additional 20,000 for people with a master's degree or higher. The White House announced the $100,000 fee last September. Employers pay to sponsor prospective employees, which previously cost between $2,000 and $5,000. Two senators are teaming up to challenge a form of indirect censorship that comes from government pressure on third parties, such as social media platforms and TV networks. Senate Commerce Committee Chairman Ted Cruz and Senator Ron Wyden introduced new legislation against jawboning. It aims to hold the government accountable for censorship and violations of the First Amendment right to free speech. The Jawbone Act would allow plaintiffs to seek damages and would require government agencies to submit to Congress certain communications with companies, which the bill says will strengthen oversight and accountability. In the NBA, the New York Knicks make history with a record comeback last night. NTD's Dave Martin joins us with the details after this break.
This
is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
So at the age of 5, I was sexually molested. I had my first child at the age of 15 and became homeless at the age of 16. The scariest part about not having a place to live was having a child and not having a place to live and not knowing where our meal was going to come from and where we're going to sleep. To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them. 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis.
It was pretty tough. But Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They gave me the love that I needed. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
Your $19 monthly gift is urgently needed to reach other young people who are facing unimaginable situations. Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible. Thank you for caring.
And now for your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. So Dave, great to have you again here back in studio. We got some basketball, baseball, college football news. Let's start with the NBA Finals, of course. So the New York Knicks made history last night, coming back from a 29-point deficit. What did you make of it?
I mean, I'm still stunned. Like I was telling you earlier, I didn't get home until it was halftime. They were down, 76-49. It was a 27-point advantage. I thought of just, turning the TV off and going to bed, even though I've seen the Knicks come back from some ridiculous deficits this year. I'm glad I didn't, obviously. I mean, it wasn't the prettiest of comebacks, really. It was more defensively than offensively. But OG Anunoby's tip-in of a Jalen Brunson myth with 2.1 seconds left capped off a second-half comeback where the Knicks outscored the Spurs 58-30. They ended up winning 107-106, probably one of the most unbelievable games ever. Now, their first lead of this game didn't come until Jalen Brunson hit this floater from about 5 feet left, 5 feet from the rim, but with about 1:22 remaining in the game. Brunson finished with a game-high 36 points, and Anunoby, you got the tip and finished with 33. The Spurs, meanwhile, they shot 60% in that first half, but just 21% thereafter. They seemed really content to just kind of settle for some three-pointers. But in the second half, they actually had more turnovers than they did made baskets. They had 10 turnovers in the second half, just 8 made baskets. So the Knicks now lead the series 3-1. Game 5 will be Saturday night in San Antonio. So Quite a game there, Don. I'm glad I watched it.
Yes, we're all glad you watched it because I'm going to get more opinions from you on this. So that tip-in, I think, is just a cherry on top of an amazing comeback, amazing night. But I couldn't figure it out. I was watching that tip-in moment a couple of times over and over. I just can't tell if it was luck or if it was skill. What do you think?
You know, we were just talking about this. Like, I think it's actually easier to just hit it off the backboard and go in. Or for these guys, I mean, 6'8", you can probably just palm the ball midair and dunk it, and it'll still be easier than what he did. But he tipped it with some spin on it. He did his perfect spin, so it went through. And that seems like the most difficult of the three options. Now, it should be noted, Anunoby was the one who inbounded the ball, and they didn't guard him. So there was nobody watching him, so he just ran in free to get the rebound. There was no one there to box him out. So he had a free run right to the rim, and he's like the perfect guy to do it. He's like 6'8". He's very athletic. He's a great shooter. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he meant to swish it in there. Of the three options, it was definitely the hardest, though. I'll say that.
That would make him an incredible player if he did it on purpose. And okay, let's talk about baseball now. Two-time reigning Cy Young winner Tarek Skubal will start on Saturday after being out for more than a month following arthroscopic surgery on his elbow. Okay, talk to us about this.
Yeah, Skubal hasn't pitched since April 29th. He underwent surgery to remove what was called loose bodies in his left elbow, which is the arm he pitches with. Now, typically, this kind of procedure sidelines a player for 2 to 3 months. Skubal has just been out for 5 weeks, though, so he will start Saturday against Cleveland. Detroit could certainly use him. The Tigers just in next to last place in the AL Central with a 29-40 record. Skubal, meanwhile, was 3-2 this season with a 2.70 ERA. Those numbers certainly would have put him at least in contention if he kept going forward for another Cy Young this season. He's not totally out of the race yet. 5 weeks isn't that many weeks to make up for anyway in a Cy Young race. So we'll see how this season goes for both him and the Tigers. But it's a big get back to get him back in the rotation for Detroit, for sure.
All right, last but not least, moving to college football news, the case of Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby, who was finally, or rather initially deemed ineligible by the NCAA for sports gambling, but was granted an injunction to play, is now heating up. What is the latest on that?
Well, it seems like most people think this is a bad thing. And that is, allowing a player who's admitted to placing bets on his own team to play without any kind of punishment. Now, if fans obviously think these games are fixed, they're going to lose interest in them. This is why every professional sports league does not allow a player who's bet on their team to continue playing. But on Tuesday, the Big 12 athletic directors met with the 15 other schools in the conference, not including Texas Tech. They unanimously oppose playing Texas Tech this season if Texas Tech plans on playing Sorsby. Now, today, the Big 12 presidents met to decide whether to invoke one of their bylaws that would penalize Texas Tech for playing him. Specifically, the bylaw allows for the Big 12 to discipline a member for being, quote, engaged in any action or course of conduct materially adverse to the best interests of the conference taken as a whole, end quote. So Texas Attorney General, though, Ken Paxton has gotten himself involved, sending a letter to Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark notifying the league that they would be exposed to substantial liability if they take action against Sorsby. Specifically, Paxton said the total exposure for lost revenue would be, quote, substantially more than $200 million. So there seems to be quite a fight brewing about whether, the Big 12 is at least going to let him play or try to do something to him. The NCAA right now, their hands are tied since they lost the court case. The court has ruled in his favor to allow him to play this season while the trial is set for next February. But next February, the season is over, and this is his final season, so the trial would seem to be moot at that point. So quite a fight going on here over a very good quarterback, I'll say that.
Yeah, very interesting development there, but I can't stop thinking about that tip-in, even though you were talking about this story.
I'll try to be less boring next time when I talk about these
it's very interesting. It's just that tip-in is just incredible. It's been living in my mind rent-free for a while.
The funny thing is the Knicks actually blew a couple of opportunities. They had this open lay-in with about 2 minutes left. Or it was a wide open lay-in. Granted, there was a guy coming to it. Josh Hart missed it. I mean, he goes to lay it up, and it just, sometimes it happens. It bounces off the back of the rim, and then it goes out. And then San Antonio, though, they actually had a case with like 11 seconds left. They had the ball, and a guy went up for a layup. Really, he could have taken the ball out and just dribbled off the clock until they fouled him, and instead he decided to go for a layup. And it was the same guy, Anunoby, blocked the shot, got the rebound, and got them going down. I mean, Anunoby was definitely the player of the last minute, if not the player of the game for the Knicks. He had quite a game. I mean, obviously they've got a great team. Jalen Brunson might have been the player of the game too, but Anunoby certainly the player of the last minute for the Knicks.
Who do you think might be the Finals MVP?
I think it's between those two right now because Anunoby has had a great series. He obviously had that, like we just said, he had that amazing tip, and he might be he might be slightly in the driver's seat. Brunson though has really been the motor that has kept them going. Like in all these games, he is such a great. He's like one of those great clutch players. Like in the second half of a game or in the playoffs, he's the guy that just keeps. He plays better when the stakes are higher. It's pretty amazing. So. That's my read on it, but obviously we'll see in game 5, that is, on Saturday. I'm already losing track of these games here. Knicks are up 3-1, so it's game 5 on Saturday in San Antonio. If the Knicks win, I would guess those two are in the driver's seat to win MVP.
So game 5, if the Knicks loses, they still have two more games?
Yeah, then they would come back for game 6 here. It would probably be, I think that would be Tuesday. It would be in New York. And then if they lose that, then you would have a game 7 that would be in San Antonio. That would probably be the following Thursday.
I mean, we're here in New York. I don't want them to lose, but if they lose 2 more games, that last game would be really exciting.
Oh, that would be very exciting. They definitely don't want to do a game 7 on the road because then obviously playing on the road is so much tougher with that road crowd rooting against you. It makes such a huge difference. A game 7, like all the fans would be just as excited as you're talking about. It probably makes it even more difficult, but it has been done before. But I'm sure they would hope to wrap it up at least by game 6.
All right. Let's leave it there for today. Always interesting to talk to you, Dave. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Don.
President Trump is highlighting the completion of work at the restored reflecting pool on the National Mall. The president saying it involved a massive cleanup.
It was going to take 4 years to build, and we did it in like a month and a half. Which it was all garbage strewn. Some of the garbage was there for years. It was all disgusting, and it smelled. And anyway, we took 11 dumpsters of garbage out. It's with shovels. We had a shovel inside of what's called a pool or a lake, and got it clean. We then fumigated it. We then sandblasted the entire thing. We washed it, cleaned it, scrubbed it, sandblasted it. We used a dark blue. It's called American flag blue. I wanted to go light, but they said, sir, light doesn't reflect, and light shows leaves and garbage if garbage. One man said, sir, when you leave, it'll be strewn with garbage again. And you don't want that.
Small Business Administration Kelly Loeffler said the project was completed by Atlantic Industrial Coatings, a small business based in Virginia. Loeffler thanking the workers involved and saying the project helps prepare the nation's capital for America's 250th anniversary celebration. The Ultimate Fighting Championship is heading to the White House this weekend for UFC Freedom 250. The arena can accommodate around 4,000 guests for the televised event, which coincides with President Trump's 80th birthday. The ceremonial weigh-in takes place as Saturday evening. The White House hosted a media preview of the massive structure on the South Lawn today. In the main event, lightweight champion Topuria will defend his title against interim champion Gaethje in a bid to become the undisputed lightweight champion. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with more news. And of course, NTD Evening News is always at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.